Hey there, and welcome back to Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, the game! As you recall, in the last episode, I delivered on the long-demanded video covering all the Autobot enemies in the game, in what is officially my longest video to date. And now, it is time to finish off the second half of that video with a detailed demonstration of all the Decepticon enemies in the game. This video will run down all the same attributes of each character, just as the Autobot video did, which will include their appearance, along with any bugs or visual distinctions they may have, their gameplay specifics, including health, weapons, and other combat capabilities, what advanced maneuvers they can perform, their basic in-game behavior, and of course, close off each character with a full-on test in battle. I will be doing this for each and every single Decepticon enemy in the game, and with there being a couple more Decepticon enemies compared to the Autobots, this may very well take the place as the longest video I've ever made. Well, there's a lot to cover here, so we better just get started. Let's transform, rise up, and dish up some Decepticons! Starting off our Decepticon dissection, we have the Stunticons, starting with the Stunticon Scout. This lean, mean fighting machine is the first main enemy type you encounter in the Autobot campaign. First appearing in The Battle Begins at the Shanghai construction site, he appears throughout the majority of the early Shanghai missions, but is then quickly discarded by the time you reach the West Coast oil refinery. Visually, this is a design I really like. The long, lanky silhouette, along with the tidy body proportions, all the while still maintaining a decent amount of noticeable vehicle kibble, really make for a solid character design. The Stunticon Scout not only shares the majority of his animations with Ratchet, but actually shares his entire base rig as well. Aside from the hands, of course, which differ substantially from what you see on Ratchet, but overall he's a straight-up Ratchet clone rig-wise. The Stunticon Scout, like the Omnibot Scout, features two distinct decos. The deco for this particular Stunticon, though, is quite a bit different from what you will see in the concept art. Both Stunticons were originally designed to share a distinctive deco that shared a blend of gray, black, and purple. But not only is this deco spotting some bold shades of blue across his body, but it also seems that the entire pattern has been inverted from what you see in the concept art. The gray parts appear black, the blue parts appear gray, and the purple lining has been recolored to white. Quite curious as to why this deco was changed from the way it was, but be that as it may, we shall survey this snazzy Stunticon servo to servo. Starting up at the head, the design seems to resemble a cross between ROTF Soundwave and the original Decepticon protoform head, mainly due to the four antennae lining the top rear of the head and the protoform-esque face design. The deco of the head is naturally inverted, with blue taking place of the gray and gray taking place of the black. Otherwise, nothing too particularly apparent stands out here. Proceeding down to the chest, you have the front headlights dotting the upper clavicle regions, with the chest being primarily colored gray, compared to being primarily black, as seen in concept art. He has a distinct movie Decepticon insignia dotting the center of the chest, with the majority of the armor below that being colored a nice dark shade of blue compared to the original gray. Taking a tougher look at the top, we have his distinct door kibble that hangs high above his body. Aside from the obvious deco swap, his door windows have strangely been recolored to blue compared to the purple windows seen in concept art. Somebody must have gotten a little carried away during the inversion process. Taking a better look at the back, he's got a couple armor panels lining the upper section of the back. Interestingly, the section below that appears to have been originally meant to be glass, but comes off appearing as a darker section of armor, or even potentially his window louvers. But the concept art clearly shows this section as being transparent. Otherwise, aside from the color inversion, the design seems to follow the concept art pretty darn well. Shifting over to the shoulders, he has some upper armor that generally follows the inversion theme of the skin, but if you were to examine it from the side, you'd see that the blue section has a much sharper angle on the outer armor compared to the smooth descent seen in the artwork. Though, according to the artwork, this section should be moving separately from the shoulders themselves. But this is more than likely a result of making the character compatible with Ratchet's rig, so there you go. Taking a look at the intersection of the shoulders, I can't help but be bothered by how bright his wheel treads are. They blend way too much with his interior parts for my liking, and I would have preferred it if they had made the treads darker like they appeared in the artwork. Aiming at the arms are actually where the inversion deco tends to veer a bit off course. First off, the gray near the top center of the arm should actually be colored blue as seen by the pattern in the artwork. There is also a slightly darker outline to the side of that should be gray. Come to think of it, I think I see remnants of a purple stripe here. In fact, if this section was made a bit darker, it would actually line up with what you see in the artwork quite well. This is making me think that they originally did make this skin to follow the actual artwork, but then changed it for some reason. The rest of the gray of the armor on the front should likewise be a slightly brighter gray. He also has some really bizarre blue splotch on the front that I really don't understand what the heck is going on with. Though on the back of the arms rest his taillights, imitating what you see on the original design quite well. He has, however, received a few changes to his hands. While the in-game design has 2 pointy fingers and a thumb, the actual artwork indicates him having 3 fingers and 2 thumbs. Ironically, making him a better fit for Ratchet's rig than he currently is now. The hips have a design that I cannot help but be reminded of W.C. Deden's chest of for some reason. It is now colored blue instead of the gray seen in concept art, and it seems like the top section was never meant to be colored, or the front section should have been colored. Either way, it's a minor but bothersome oversight. Falling down to the thighs, you get a clear display of how the deco deviated from the source art, with the general pattern being the exact same, but the colors themselves obviously being swapped. Other than that, the design follows the artwork quite accurately. The knees are much the same as the thighs. They both follow the inversion deco and design of the game art quite well. They have their distinct wheels tucked away inside, which are thankfully colored a brilliantly better darker shade than the shoulder wheels. The rear bumper on the back of the legs may be a tad bit overly bright, but that isn't a huge issue to me. Finishing off at the feet, the design follows the same two-toe template as seen in the artwork. Really, the only issue I can find here is that there is a noticeable gap between the front toes and the feet. Would have been nice if this could have been filled out a little bit more, but it isn't too terribly noticeable. Alright, that's a satisfactory survey of the Stunticon styling. Let's shift over into gameplay.
Let the party begin!
Starting with health, the Stunticon Scout has a mere maximum health value of 150, making him the weakest of all the Decepticon enemies in the game. For basic movements, the Stunticon Scout can perform the majority of these standard movements, all the while sharing Ratchet's signature animations. He can walk, run, jump. No jump slam, surprisingly. Though he can, of course, climb. When it comes to his basic in-game behavior, the Stunticon Scout is all about keeping distance from his enemy. Use so much to start advancing on him, and he'll start backing off. That said, he will chase you down if you start to flee, so he's not a complete coward, but he still doesn't want you anywhere near him. Proceeding onto his combat capabilities, we'll start with his ranged weapons. For his weapon model, the Stunticon Scout uses a scaled-down version of Longhall's secondary flamethrower weapon that forms over his right hand, and also no longer spins. For his primary weapon, the Scout's weapon isn't officially named, but based upon sounds and mechanics, it's clearly intended to be a machine gun, similar to the second Omnibots. It uses sideways vehicle weapon sounds, does 5 damage per shot, and can be fired up to 24 times before overheating. For his secondary weapon, he has the Plasma Blaster, a surprisingly decent ranged weapon that reuses Bumblebee's primary weapon sounds, does 25 damage per shot, and can be fired just 4 times before overheating. And since he essentially is a clone of Ratchet, he too can likewise roll, just as Ratchet could. When it comes to a special ability, the Stunticon Scout does not seem to have one. However, his voice lines seem to indicate some sort of stealth ability.
Engaging stealth!
Whether that was meant to refer to an actual cloak, or just vanishing from the radar, remains unknown. For melee, the Scout can perform a swift swing with both arms that deal the standard 35 damage. He has no additional melee attacks to mention, but he can of course toss ambient cars in an animation somewhat different from what Ratchet uses. And that's all to show for the Stunticon Scout's robot mode. Let's swing on over to vehicle mode. Stunticon Scout, transform! And here we have the Stunticon Scout's vehicle mode. A severe knockoff of the Lamborghini Reventon that actually reuses the transformation sounds of the drone default from Transformers the game, and shares the majority of its engine sounds with Sideways. Visually, this vehicle has been so heavily altered from the source vehicle that finding any solid similarities proves to be quite the challenge. I guess the licensing for Lamborghinis must be really strict. But that aside, the deco is once again inverted with what you see in the concept art. The gray now takes the top, The purple edge line is now white, and the black is now blue, and now lines the bottom instead of the top. But that is but a basic summary on the general deco. Let's get in close and see what other alterations have been made from art to game. Starting up at the front, the design of the car just barely resembles that of a Lambo. The iconic vertical headlight shape has been scrapped in favor of a new horizontal design. The hood now spots a Decepticon insignia instead of the Lamborghini logo. The front bumper section has been redesigned to be indented all across the front instead of just being indented in the very center of the car. There is also a new deeper divide in the very center of the car that was not present on the original, but it does still retain the lower side vents that are one of the few features that you can still recognize from the original Reventon, though the interior for them does seem to be miscolored, showing up as blue instead of likely remaining gray. Moving to the sides, we have his wheels, which were another feature that had to be heavily redesigned from the source vehicle. Instead of having a pinwheel-like design, you now have a design that reminds me a lot of War for Cybertron Breakdown's wheels, that instead of spotting a Lamborghini logo, now spot a Decepticon insignia, with a blue outline going across the rim. Gotta say, I much prefer the design of these wheels compared to the original. Taking a glance at the side of the car, it is honestly quite dull. All of the angular detailing the Lamborghini is known for is discarded, reduced to simple flat sides with no substantial detailing of any kind. I always felt this vehicle was one of the weakest designs in the game, and now I know why. The sheer amount of detailing that had to be cut from this design due to licensing really makes this the weakest alt mode in the entire game. He does retain the window louvers on the top, though there is no noticeable light above them. The rear of the car doesn't fare much better. The center of the car has some loose similarities to the original car, with the center indentation still being present, though the Lamborghini text is obviously absent. Aside from the indentation, the rest of the back appears more solid, instead of including the second angular design seen on the actual Reventon. The taillight is somewhat similar, but has been spaced out more from the rear vents, and made to be a lot less sharp in shape. Then, you have the rear exhaust ports, which have been redesigned from a singular tube to 2 mini ports with 4 spaces inside. Then finally, you have the rear bumper, which appears more solid compared to the design seen on the source car, with the only similarity I can find being a couple indentation lines in the center, where the original had 3. Finally, closing off with a quick glimpse inside, it's pretty standard to what you expect the interior to look like. It's got a couple chairs, a steering wheel, and a dashboard, all using a very dull material. So overall, fairly well detailed for something you normally wouldn't be able to see. So yeah, there's a lot of changes made here, and most of them detract from the overall quality of the car. But I guess there wasn't much you could really do in the end. Shifting gear over to gameplay, the functionality of the Stunticon's car behaves much the same as the standard car. He can reach a maximum speed of 78 miles per hour, and hit 96 miles per hour with nitro engaged. His turning is much sharper compared to the standard vehicle, but he can also power slide, which is somehow slower than his actual turning is. For weapons, he reuses Bumblebee's vehicle sounds, does 4 damage per shot, and can be fired 40 times before needing to cool down, similar to the Autobot Scout's vehicle weapons. And finally, he can, of course, reverse. For advanced maneuvers, he can perform only the advanced jump. The advanced melee attack merely shifts him straight back into robot mode. And the advanced ground pound breaks him and shrinks him down to a small size and permanently locks him in this state. For transformations, he has the standard stationary transformation, where he does a straight dive down to the ground, and then hops back up. His transformation also seems to be shared with his forward transformation as well, so this guy sadly only has 1 set of transformations. Alright, that's the summary on the Stunticon Scout. It is now time to put some pedal to the metal and see how this Stunticon survives a skirmish.
I am for engaging some targets.
So, starting us off in our first fight, I thought it would be appropriate to bring in Sideswipe. Since there are a lot more Autobots I have direct access to with the dev build, I can offer a lot more variety than I could for the Decepticons. I also have another Stunticon ally stationed nearby to provide me with some additional backup. So, this should prove interesting.
Let the violence begin.
Alright, Sideswipe, let's dance. Where is he? Swipey! He's over there.
He should have been faster.
I'm Come on, Swipey.
There's no prisoners!
Oh, where you rolling to?
Turn him into scrap!
Oh, he's mining. Hey, no miners.
Ah, my chassis!
Need to get a higher vantage point.
Going for the high ground!
Swipey, where'd you go? Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I don't think so. Ah, I'm out. Okay, rough start. Let's go again. Okay, round 2, Sideswipe. I can join my buddy here. Oh, he's dead
Attacking
already
the
as
other
well. Come on, Swipey. Oh, no, no miners. Oh, I got mine. Okay, round 3. Not going very well here. Oh, I'm going for it. Oh, miss. Swipe you. How's that feel? Where'd he go?
Help
Oh,
me!
dang it, I got stuck. Ugh. Okay, final round. Let's see if I can pull up a victory here. Get him, brother. I'll help you. Oh, Scrap, he's dead.
Any Stunticon could have
Come on.
avoided that.
Take him. Come on.
That's what I'm
Scrap.
talking about.
Okay, well. Well, I think that was somewhat worse than the Omnibot. Okay, yeah, this dude is pretty weak. His health is just too low to survive much of anything. So, yeah, this guy is not going to be killing much of anybody. Okay, well, that was the first Stunticon down. Let's switch up and bring in his stronger counterpart. Speeding on with our Stunticon survey, we have Stunticon Scout 2. This Scout, much like his predecessor, first appears as a much rarer variant in The Battle Begins at the Shanghai construction site, but becomes more prominent as the campaign progresses up until the first West Coast mission, where he is then discarded from the game entirely. Visually, this Stunticon's deco actually seems to follow the previous Scout's concept art more than his actual one. He follows the same general color theme as the artwork, but the exact deco isn't quite the same as what you see in the artwork. It's not exactly a straight-up invert as the previous Scout, but there are definitely some strange additions to this design. Mainly, he seems to have no obvious gray sections, and he has this new mauve shade that is never indicated anywhere in concept art. We'll delve into that, as well as any other changes that this slender Stunticon has received. Starting up with the head, it is now primarily mauve, as opposed to the original gray seen in concept art. He does retain the purple stripes seen on the top and lower center of the face, so that's accurate. However, he is also missing the spare black details just outside the purple stripes. And the bottom stripes actually seem to be angled a bit too high, and are also a bit too thick. But otherwise, it is accurate enough. Continuing down to the chest, the deco actually seems to resemble the previous Scout's original deco, with black taking up the majority of the upper armor, and mauve taking place of the gray. Same could be said of the back. The deco generally follows that of the first Scout, with the majority of the armor being black instead of gray, but still retains the signature purple stripes seen on the lower side armor. Moving up toward the top, he has his distinctive door kibble, which now have some mauve sections in the center behind the head, instead of them being gray. The doors do retain the same purple discoloration of the windows as seen on the previous Scout, as opposed to them being a darker gray. And if we flip to the back, there are some more mauve sections on the interior that really should have gone uncolored. Switching over to the shoulders, they seem to have been colored entirely black, including various interior sections which should have remained uncolored. But that aside, he maintains the same purple stripes as seen in his artwork. However, he should have had a couple gray sections on his top inner side armor that are obviously lacking on this version. The arms, like the shoulders, are again colored primarily black instead of gray, and while they do still retain the purple stripes falling diagonally along the side, the lighter gray sections on the outside seem to be absent. The hands are simply colored to mauve, where they were originally just gray in the original artwork. Otherwise, nothing else of significance to mention. The hips contain more traces of mauve, including some in the interior sections, while the rest of the hips are again colored primarily black, instead of the gray as indicated in concept art. However, to their credit, they at least resolved the abrupt edges between the front and top of the hips that were obnoxiously present on the previous Scout. The thighs somewhat follow the source art by retaining the black and purple stripes seen curving down the center. However, the concept gray has again been overtaken by that bizarre mauve color, and all the interior sections have again been recolored from their tinted gray to fully black. The same could be said of his knees. The entirety of his interior is again colored black, when it should have been left uncolored. On the upper sides is another mauve section that should have been colored gray, and there is some lower side armor that, despite appearing mauve here, should have been colored black to match up what is seen in artwork. The rear also has some more mauve sections that should have again been left uncolored, and his rear bumper still appears way too bright in blue for my liking. So yeah, this Stunticon is quite the curious concoction, but that'll wrap up the visual analysis. Let's get over into gameplay.
Bring it on!
Starting again with the health, the second Stunticon Scout has a maximum health value of 200, making him 50 points stronger than the original Stunticon. And he also can't be one-shot by most fully upgraded melee attacks, so he may put up more of a fight. Moving on to weapons, Stunticon Scout 2 shares the same scaled-down version of long-haul secondary weapon as the previous Stunticon Scout, but naturally has his own distinct weapons taking their place. For his primary weapon, he has the Plasma Minigun, a weak but rapid-fire weapon which reuses firing sounds from Sideways' vehicle weapon, does a measly .40 damage per hit, but makes up for that with its crazy fast fire rate that can be fired up to a whopping 143 times before needing to cool down. For his secondary weapon, he has the Scatter Shot, a close-range shotgun that uses completely unique firing sounds for a change, does 46 damage per shot, and can be fired only 3 times before overheating. The rest of his gameplay mechanics function exactly the same as the previous Stunticon Scout, so we needn't examine anything else on that regard. Well, that's all for the Stunticon Scout 2's robot mode. Let's dive down into vehicle mode. Stunticon Scout 2, transform! And here we have Stunticon Scout 2's alt mode. Again, a rancid knockoff of the Lamborghini Reventon. That, like robot mode, somehow more seems to follow the deco of the previous Stunticon's original art more than his actual one. It has the same general color scheme, though his gray is tinted slightly purple, and the black is much brighter than it should be. But it does have the same proper purple line as seen in the previous concept art. However, they seem to have merged the top of the first deco with the lower half of his actual deco. And even then, there have been some additional alterations from that artwork as well. Starting at the front fenders, he has the signature purple-black curve along the sides, as indicated by the concept art. However, the upper half of the purple symbol has been cut off due to being replaced by the upper half of the original artwork. The wheels have been insufferably simplified, with all the previous diffuse shading seen on the previous Scout being completely wiped out. Though, strangely, the Decepticon insignia is a bit more detailed than the previous Scout's insignia, so there's that. Switching to the side sections, he has another set of purple and black stripes curving up toward the top that are again cut off by the top half of the first deco. But, in addition to that, there is a new large purple stripe lining the upper sides of the rear windows, which was not a detail that could be found on the original artwork. And there is also residue of a thin black seam right below the purple stripe. Apparently, if you look at his texture, the very bottom of his texture has a thick black line that blots out a lot of the textures there. Not sure how the heck that happened. The rear of the car is more or less accurate to the artwork, being colored fully black, but having the thin purple stripe from the first deco wrapping around the top. And the rear bumper still comes off as being a bit too blue for my liking. He's also missing the indentations that the previous Scout had on the back of the bumper, and there are some black spots on the bottom of his rear vents that are a result of that thick black stripe on the bottom of his texture that I mentioned. But overall, it's accurate enough. And that's really all there is to cover for Stunticon Scout 2's car. Yeah, the whole character is essentially a love child between the first and second deco. Well, since the gameplay mechanics all mirror that of the previous Scout, you can just leap up and get straight into the action.
Time to learn Decepticon respect.
This time around, I've decided to bring in Ratchet, since we never actually had a chance to fight him in the base game. And since these guys share the same rig, I thought it would be amusing to pit them against each other. Let's see if this Scout's got a bit more bite than his buddy does. Alright, let's mess Ratchet up. Oh, sticky bombs.
Those Decepticons
Get
out.
scattered. Ooh. Get minied. Ah. Retreat! Let's fire back up. Ah, crap, I'm down. Okay, rough start. Let's go again.
Firing on Ratchet!
Engaging target.
Oh, no fair!
Come here!
No.
I am taking damage!
Oh, Podo! He got me again. Okay, let's try again. Hello? Ratchet? Oh, here he comes.
Attacking the Autobot!
You're the one who's good at needing ambulance now, Ratchet. Good thing you can turn into one. The high ground. Maybe I can hold him from here.
Time to smash you, Ratchet!
Time to get into character.
Stand back. Oh, come on. Dang it. Where'd he go? Ratchet? Oh, he's coming up. Where is he? Smack him.
Give up and die!
Oh, got me? Dang it. Ah. Okay, let's go one more time. My teammate is not helping me at all.
Threat spotted. I am taking damage!
Yeah, retreat. High ground. Go. Yeah. You come into my playing field now, buddy. That's right. Do some damage. Where you going, Ratchy? Boom, boom, boom. Ah! What? Yeah, no. Yeah, get him. Should pick mercy. Ah! Okay. Well, that was another traumatic failure. Okay, well, unfortunately, both Stunticon Scouts have failed to kill anybody. Well, not a great start for the Decepticons, but we've only just begun here. With the Scouts done, we have one more Stunticon to do. Let's go get him in our sights. Sniping on into our third and final con in the Stunticon survey is, of course, the Stunticon Sniper. Like his fellow Stunticons, the Stunticon Sniper first appears in The Battle Begins at the Shanghai construction site and is present till the final Shanghai waterfront mission along the waterfront, after which he is never seen again. Visually, this is another design I really like. He honestly has a lot of the same signature design elements as Dropkick from the Bumblebee movie. I'll get into some specifics as to exactly what those include as we go through the visual rundown. But you're seeing it too, right? There's something about these two designs that make me genuinely question if Dropkick was loosely based upon the Sniper, to at least some degree. Getting back on topic though, the Stunticon Sniper seems to share most of his core animations with the Autobot Scout, mainly due to both of them sharing a distinct upper and lower knee section. Also similar to the Autobot Warrior, the Stunticon Sniper was also designed to include a secondary bonus deco, a blue and green one that seems to have been discarded from the main game. Unlike the Autobot, however, textures for this deco actually do still exist in the game's files. At least for his vehicle mode, which, as far as I can tell, matches up with his concept art perfectly. Not sure why there were no robot textures hidden in the files as well, but at least we know it at least got partially done. But that's enough background babbling. Let's zoom on in and scope this guy out. Starting up at the head, the Sniper has a fairly simple design that appears quite accurate to what is indicated in the concept art. The head is primarily purple, with various tiny shreds of circuitry peeking through, and even has some distinctly modeled robo-lashes on the front of the optics. Not too else to mention here otherwise, but we will be returning to the head later for a peculiar bug that occurs for his optics. Continuing down to the chest, the design again appears on point with what is seen in the artwork, with the majority of the top armor being colored purple, and featuring a small pink square on his upper abdomen that features a Decepticon insignia directly based upon the promotional movie logo. He also has some upper ab panels that are again oddly similar to what is seen on Dropkick. Granted, his are silver as opposed to his primary color, but the inspiration sure seems to be there. Rotating round to the rear, he dons his side doors as upper back kibble, as well as has some wheels for his clavicle region, both of which are again eerily similar to what is seen on Dropkick. Additionally, he has a set of black flames stoking on the center of his rear armor that line up exactly with what is seen in the artwork. Switching over to the shoulders, he has some slightly spiky shoulder armor with a long rod-like section taking the place as his core shoulder section. It does appear ever so slightly longer than what is seen in concept art, but that really isn't a huge change. The arms also appear somewhat similar in design to Dropkick, and really their only standout distinctions are the headlights at the front of the arm and the fingers, that while appearing as fully purple in the concept art, come off as fully silver here. They also move a bit awkwardly, with the front part of the fingers seeming to be just designed as one large finger that splits into two smaller sections, instead of the segmented design seen in concept art. Honing down to the hips, he has only a simple single section of armor covering his crotch, and switching to the stern, has some darker purple sections protecting his posterior, made from what I believe to be is around his front grille, and that again matches up with what is seen in the concept art. So far, this character looks to be one of the most perfectly translated characters from the concept art that I've seen. The thighs have several simple sections of armor, lining the outer sides, with his wheels resting in the middle. The rear likewise appears on point with the art, with one exception being that the angle of the rear side flame is slightly rounder than what is indicated in concept art. I know, a very minor deviation, but I figured it was worth mentioning all the same. The knees have some black flames rising up from the center of his lower shin that don't seem to go quite as high as they should in the concept art, but that's alright. There also seems to be some slight inconsistencies with the concept art itself. From the front, the inner side armor appears fully purple, and the outer side armor deco appears entirely different. From the side view, however, the artwork lines up exactly with what is seen in-game. So I guess it really just was a deviation in the artwork. It happens from time to time, not a big deal. Finally, wrapping up with the feet, they again complement the concept art quite well. The front two toes appear purple, the heel appears darker. Everything here seems to check out with what is seen in the artwork. So yeah, the Stunticon Sniper was adapted from his concept art incredibly well, but it's still honestly eerie just how much he resembles Dropkick. Well, anyway, that clears the scope of the visual analysis. Let's take aim over onto gameplay.
Time to scrap you all!
Starting with health, the Stunticon Sniper has a maximum health value of 200, giving him the same health value as the second Stunticon Scout. Marching on to movements, the Sniper can perform most of these standard maneuvers. He can walk, he can run, jump, no, jump slam, of course, but he can of course fly. When it comes to his basic in-game behavior, the Sniper aims to maintain a good distance from the player, and will often seek the closest available high elevation area for a good vantage point on his target. He will remain in this position until destroyed or his target moves out of his line of sight. Should you advance upon a Sniper, he will switch to his secondary weapon to defend himself, and eventually retreat to a new position. So pretty much the standard behavior you'd expect to see from a Sniper. Priming up his weapons, the Stunticon Sniper is equipped with an arm-mounted gun that closely resembles the Aerialbot's primary weapon, just with the addition of several scope-like appendages near the receiver. And it strangely causes his hand to disappear, even though it realistically has no effect on his hands. On to the actual weapons themselves. For his primary weapon, the Stunticon Sniper is armed with the Concussion Rifle, which is a weapon I typically associate with wizards and jumpsuits, but that's besides the point. It is an incredibly long-range weapon that features entirely unique weapon sounds, can be charged to fire 25 damage per shot, it can fire only once before instantly resetting, so there's no real cooldown for it, though it can however skip the charge sequence entirely and function as a rapid-fire weapon instead, that does the same amount of damage as a fully charged shot, and is much more efficient than if you were to just charge it. For his secondary weapon, the Sniper can switch to the Cyclone Gun, a pathetically pitiful short-range weapon that does a mere 4 damage per shot, and can be fired only 9 times before needing to cool down. Might legit be the worst secondary weapon in the entire game. Kinda makes sense why the sniper sticks to his concussion rifle for the most part. And of course, the sniper can dash dodge in all 4 directions. When it comes to a special ability, the Stunticon Sniper, like the Scout, does not have one. However, he does contain unused voice lines for one.
Engaging secret weapon.
However, there is no direct indication as to what said ability might be. Moving on to melee, the sniper can perform only a single forward punch that reuses the same attack animation as the Autobot Scout. But strangely, the attack itself deals no actual impact. You can get right on up to someone, and no matter what you do, his attack will not result in any damage whatsoever. And on top of that, he has no other melee capabilities to mention. Not even the ability to toss ambient cars. Well, that takes the sniper's robot mode out of our scopes. Let's switch our target on over to vehicle mode. Stunticon Sniper, transform! And here we have the Stunticon Sniper's alt mode, a knockout version of the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren. Most likely the 2007 model from my research. Now, immediately upon seeing this car, you may notice that it shares some striking similarities with Dark of the Moon Soundwave's alt mode, the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG. That's because the AMG is actually the successor of the SLR, so some similarities between the 2 cars are to be expected. And even though this car still is in fact a knockout version of the SLR, a lot of those similarities still shine through despite some of the changes. He shares the majority of his engine sounds with Sideways, just like the Scouts, and uses the weapon sounds from Long Haul for his transformation sounds. Deco-wise, he appears quite accurate to his artwork, striking a primarily purple color with a torrent of black flames engulfing the rear and shimmering up the roof and sides of the car. But that is from but just an initial glance. Let's perform a more thorough survey and see if anything segues from the source. Starting at the front of the car is where the bulk of the changes seem to have taken place. The center hood stops right before the front grills instead of curving down to the bottom. The Mercedes logo has been replaced with a Decepticon insignia, as is typical for knockoff versions of cars. The headlight shape has been changed from 4 distinct round lights to having 8 smaller lights inside a rectangular shape, with an additional orange bar light added to the bottom. The lower grille section has been slightly tweaked, with the frames appearing straighter as opposed to the curved design of the original car, and there are now 2 fog lights placed into the grille itself as opposed to being placed on the fenders like the source car. Switching to a side view, the front side vents have been substantially redesigned from the 5-flapped format seen on the original car to having a single curved grille up at the top. There's also been some modifications to the bottom sports exhaust that no longer make them come off as exhaust pipes and more like a step of some kind. Interestingly, the top rear corner of his side window has been completely covered over compared to the source vehicle, which still had such a piece visible. The wheels have also been redesigned to include 12 single spokes on the rim, as opposed to having 6 sets of 2 spokes on the rim, and there's now a Decepticon insignia in the center of the hubcap, again where a Mercedes logo would have been. Moving on to the rear of the car, it has again been substantially simplified compared to the source vehicle. First off, there is once more no Mercedes logo, nor a substitute Decepticon insignia above the license plate, along with there also not being any center light. The shape of the taillights is roughly the same as the original car, but the detailing has been slightly tweaked to a singular divide running through the middle instead of a sharp U-based shape, and there is no mini light on the inner side. Further down, the bottom curved indentation has been totally removed, without any single trace of it ever being there. From the sides, there is also an additional vent section that the original car did not have. Taking a quick glimpse inside, it's more of what you've come to expect from the interior. A flat, dull, dark texture with a couple chairs and a steering wheel. Granted, none of it is particularly noticeable because of the texturing used, but since you're never meant to see inside it, it serves its purpose well enough. When it comes to gameplay, the Sniper is probably the most bizarrely broken character in the game. He can drive at a standard speed of 78 miles per hour, though he retains the excessively sharp turning like the Stunticon Scout's vehicle. He can boost, giving him a maximum speed of 96 miles per hour. He can power slide, which is again slower than his default turning. His weapons deal the standard 4 damage per shot, reuse Bumblebee's vehicle weapon sounds, and can be fired up to 40 times before overheated. But for some reason, he'll only fire from his spawn point, essentially making the entire vehicle weapon worthless. And he can, of course, reverse. Transitioning to transformations, the Sniper has another significant anomaly. He has the standard stationary transformation that for some reason does not have a car equivalent animation to go along with, meaning he'll just glide along as a mess of parts until reverting back to robot mode. As a quick aside, the second he transforms, the position of his optics permanently shift off his face. I have no freaking idea how the heck that scene was supposed to happen, but apparently it somehow does. But, getting back on topic, he also has his only functional transformation, the forward run transformation, and that one works perfectly. When it comes to advanced maneuvers, the Sniper can perform only the advanced jump, which seems to share its animations with the Autobot Scout. And also like the Autobot Scout, the advanced main attack just jolts him straight back to robot mode, and the advanced ground pound leaves him in a permanent free-falling state that he cannot be broken out of, just like the Autobot Scout. And that is a clear shot of the Stunticon Sniper. Yeah, he's easily the most busted character we've played as thus far. Still, one test does yet remain, and that is, of course, the combat test. To add some buzz to this battle, I decided to bring in Bumblebee. He should provide just enough challenge for the Sniper without it being too terribly overpowered. Let's lock, load, get him in our sights, and see if we can clip his wings.
Make your time.
Alright, Sniper, time to go sniping. Let's see if we can actually pull off a win here. Let's go for high ground.
The run, Bumblebee is here.
Get sniped, B. Oh, God, this thing sucks. Oh, he's coming up. Move. Where are you? Where'd you go? Oh, he's down below. Yep. Climb. Give me a clear shot. Okay. Come on.
I see him.
Whoop. Boom. Yeah, stay still. Where are you, B? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Rocket. Oh, I'm fine. Where are ya, bot? Bot? Where'd he go? Oh. You're
Target.
dead meat. Come on. Bop, bop, bop. Oh, no. No. No.
Another shot on Bumblebee.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
I see a Decepticon, I attack a Decepticon.
Come on. Go down. Oh, this thing sucks. Come on.
I can't take much more of this.
It's gotta be weak, right? Come on. Break up. Charge us all day. Okay, not a great start. Let's go again. All right, B, round 2. Get some good hits. I'm going up.
Ascending to rooftop.
I see ya. Where you at, boy? Coming up? You're staying low. Yeah, I don't like it here. I'm going over here. Hello? Oh, did I hear a little bee buzz?
Enemy target acquired.
Oh, that's a hit. Climb up. Oh, good hits. Ah! Come on! I want to win here already. Die, Autobot! Whew. Come on! Come on! Oh! That bee is fried. Oh, finally got a win. Nice. Alright, let's go for another round. Alright, round 3. Let's see who's gonna be the winner here. Nope. Going up.
Bumblebee! All forces on him!
Bot. There. Come on,
Targeted
bot.
range. Fire it.
Come on. Come on. Oh. Oh. Come on. Ah. Oh. Nope. No! 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 Oh! No. I like it here. Just gonna stay there like a dead fish.
I just pulled Bumblebee's wings!
Oh, I think that's a win for me. Nice. Huh. Oh, he actually hit that. Color me surprised. So, surprisingly enough, the Stunticon Sniper actually pulled off a win. Yeah, as cool as this guy looks, and he does look incredibly cool, he ain't gonna be doing a whole lot. Only reason I won is because his fire rate was so good. That's it. Otherwise, this guy's a certified L. But that is a clear shot on the Sniper. Let's form up and march on to our next set of Decepticons, the Combaticons. Commencing with the first of our Combaticon combatants, we have the Combaticon Scout. This squirrely little scraplet is the most common Decepticon adversary in the game. First appearing at the second Shanghai Spiral Highway mission, Long Haul Lives, after which he becomes a pretty much persistent threat thereafter up till the very end of the game. The Combaticon Scout is yet another solid design who takes his primary inspiration from G1 Swindle. This design takes the key elements of Swindle exceptionally well, but condenses them just enough to make the aesthetic work for a generic enemy unit. There's not a lot of background information I can refer to for this particular character, so we'll just lock in and give the soldier a thorough assessment. Starting up at the head, the Combaticon Scout follows the design of his Art Deco quite well. He does have a few more gray spots compared to the concept head, which looks to be almost entirely green, but otherwise it's pretty solid. One little bit of trivia that I can mention, though, is that all the Combaticons originally had a uniform head design, shared between all 3 of them. It consisted of a 2-slot face with a divide in the middle. According to Ken, they were originally designed to operate out of a hive mentality. But with Hasbro wanting these designs to be considered as the actual versions of the Combaticons themselves, the heads had to be redesigned. The reason I bring all this up is that there is in fact a leftover version of said head still used in the game. It appears as one of the character's lower LOD models. That appears if their model gets too far away. And if you've played this game long enough, you've likely caught said difference on your own. There sadly aren't any functional textures for this mesh, but the fact the original mesh is still there is actually pretty cool. Continuing down to the chest, the design and deco again seem to follow the artwork quite accurately. There are a few minor deco deviations, but most of those are just slight color intensity changes and aren't worth haggling over. The most obvious change on the chest is the lack of a Decepticon insignia in the center. It is also worth noting that the Scout suffers from some slight rigging problems. The side sections of his upper clav region seem to move along with his head, making for some really awkward braking at sections that should be remaining stationary. Sadly, you'll find each Combaticon has at least one rigging issue present. Switching to a side view, the Scouts lack the Decepticon star logo that is seen in concept art. This was allegedly done due to a policy of not combining Transformer symbols with real military symbols, but strangely, the star does in fact appear in the character's alt mode in-game. So, I'm not sure if the policy got changed, or if they failed to cut it from the final game. Either way, I'm kind of glad it snuck in. Breaking around to the back, he again appears accurate to the artwork, with both his side doors built up his upper back kibble. One noteworthy change is that the rear of the door was originally designed to have some interior detailing, but instead, it just appears as a flat green panel, same as the front of the door. Additionally, he's also lacking an access point decal on his lower back panel. Everything else is fairly accurate. The shoulders aren't anything particularly special. They mostly consist of a small window pane on the front, with the rest of the interior design more or less matching with what is seen in the concept art. Give or take a few minor deco changes. Again, nothing really special here. Aiming down to the arms, the general shape of them isn't particularly interesting either. Though, he is also missing the access point text on the outer side of the armor. His arm gun, however, that's a whole nother story, but we'll cover that in depth at the weapon portion of the video. The hips, again, have very little to home in on. There are some minor deco deviations, but aside from that, the only other noticeable changes can be found on the back. The rear hip taillights were originally colored red, with the blinkers remaining orange, whereas everything here is fully orange. And he is also missing some 2 rear warning tags, but all in all, it's pretty accurate. Focusing in on the thighs, it's more of the same. The design generally follows that of the artwork, with several minor deco deviations. He may also be missing a section of armor on the inner part of the thighs, but that piece doesn't seem to be present on the side view, so that just might be another art anomaly. Can't say for sure. The knees have received a tad bit more gray coloring in the deco, compared to the solid green seen in the concept art, and he is again lacking a warning tag seen on the outer side panel. Everything else appears accurate though. Finishing up at the feet, the design is fairly accurate to the artwork, with the rear wheel taking up the base of the foot, and the rest of the detailing more or less matching up with the artwork, sans some very slight deco deviations. Otherwise, nothing's really afoot here. Well, that about sums up the Combaticon Scout's visual survey. Let's kick things into gear and get into some gameplay.
Now, it's my turn.
Starting with health, the Combaticon Scout has a maximum health value of 200 HP, putting him on par with the Stunticon Sniper and the tougher variant of the Stunticon Scout. Maneuvering onto movements, the Combaticon Scout can again perform the majority of these standard movements. He can walk, run, jump, no jump slam, of course, but you can naturally climb. In regards to his basic in-game behavior, the Combaticon Scout is one squirrely little scoundrel. He will strive to maintain a close proximity from the player unless approached upon, in which case he will dive down into alt mode and cower away. And the sheer speed of his vehicle allows him to make tracks faster than any ground-based Decepticon. However, his high turn rate makes him highly susceptible to getting caught on structures, so use that to your advantage. Readying his weaponry, the Combaticon Scout has quite a few issues in regards to his actual weapon model. First off, according to concept art, his arm gun was originally designed to be mounted onto his left arm as opposed to his right one. But that's the least of this thing's problems. As you can see from the concept art, the weapon was originally designed to be a straight-up copy of the turret seen in alt mode. However, what you have here just seems to be the 2 front barrels of the weapon. But it gets even worse. The entire mesh of the weapon has none of its UV data properly assigned to anything on the texture map, resulting in a mangled up looking mess. And, to top it all off, it has some strange gray blob floating off the front of the gun. Yeah, I have no idea how this thing even got approved into the game in its current state. Someone really misfired here. Anyway, onto the actual weapons themselves. The primary weapon for the Combaticon Scout is the machine gun, which is a pretty standard but surprisingly long-range weapon with a high rate of fire. It reuses Sideways' alt mode weapon sounds, deals only 2 damage per shot, but is capable of being fired up to 68 times before overheating. For his secondary weapon, the Scout can switch out to his grenade launcher that fires a slow, but again surprisingly long-range grenade arc that reuses Barricade's all-fire sound from Transformers the game, deals 33 damage per direct hit, and can be fired only once before overheating. And he can of course dash dodge in all 4 directions. When it comes to a special ability, the Combaticon Scout actually has an unused speed boost ability. It increases both his movement speed and his melee attack speed. It's surprising that it's actually fully functional here, and yet the character never makes use of it at all in the final game. It's a good bet this is the exact same ability that Jazz received for the DLC. For melee, the Scout can perform only a single swift punch, with no other additional melee attacks to mention. But he can of course toss ambient cars for an additional ranged attack. Well, there's our clear conclusion of the Combaticon Scout's robot mode. Let's bunker down into vehicle mode. Combaticon Scout, transform! And here we have the Combaticon Scout's vehicle mode, a concept take on a Humvee that appears to be primarily based upon the 2008 Hummer HX, which, fun fact, was also used for the Nest Humvee in the Revenge of the Fallen film. It reuses the robot-to-vehicle transformation sounds of the armored car drone, aka Payload from Transformers the game, and uses entirely unique engine sounds. Since there is no exact source vehicle for me to directly compare to, I'll stick to detailing any deviations from the concept art itself. And from an initial glance, the vehicle and artwork look to be pretty on point with one another, but we'll need to assess them more fairly to sniff out any problems that may be present. Starting at the front of the vehicle, the design follows that of the source art quite well, but there seems to have been a few slight omissions and alterations from the actual artwork. Starting at the hood, there seems to have been some bars on the hood plate that have been noticeably cut from the final design. The front grille has also seen a slight rework. Obviously, the central Decepticon insignia has been changed from a straight paste-over of the promotional movie logo to a much wider and wider version. But, in addition to that, the position of the headlights appears to have ascended somewhat from the source art. And there's also some additional casing around the lights that was noticeably excluded from the final design. Further down the front, just above the lower grille, there were also originally meant to be a couple latches that have also been noticeably cut from the final design. The undersection also appears to have been somewhat redesigned. The front axles appear as a solid straight pipe between the two front wheels, as opposed to the more diagonal setup seen in the artwork. And there is also the inclusion of an additional center section that is somewhat off-center. That might be a bug, honestly, but otherwise some quite interesting changes have been made here. Switching to a side view, the vehicle looks to mirror the artwork almost perfectly, with the exception of one key distinction. It seems that there is an addition of some extra protrusions along the fenders that were completely absent in the concept art. That is quite a substantial shift. I wonder what led to this inclusion. Additionally, on a more minor note, there is also the exclusion of the handle underneath the access point. Otherwise, everything else seems on point. The wheels also look to follow the artwork pretty well. It's a solid green hubcap with multiple protrusions around the inner and outer edges. Otherwise, nothing too noteworthy sticks out here. Up at the roof, however, we do have the Combaticon Scout's most bizarre flaw, and those are these bizarre floating rails on the upper edges of the car. Yeah, this one is quite a puzzler to me. According to concept art, there was originally meant to be a smaller set of rails beneath these ones that connect them to the roof. But that seems to have been overlooked, and now they just magically float mid-air. That front rectangular section is especially bad. At the very least, they could have just lowered these sections down a little bit onto the roof itself, if they didn't want to include those lower rails, but oh well. At the top center of the roof, we have the turret, which overall seems to follow the artwork, but there are a few minor design changes that do seem to deviate. Mainly, the inner base of the turret seems to have been simplified to a rectangular base compared to a more complex setup seen in the artwork. The front barrel has also been somewhat simplified. The standard shape is the same, but some extra sections near the start of the base have been noticeably cut. Still, pretty solid adaptation all the same. Readjusting to the rear, the general design is again fairly accurate to the artwork, but several alterations have been made, most of which seem to affect the shape of the vehicle, mainly that the rear upper windows appear to have been shortened from what is seen in the artwork. Then again, they do look right from the side angle, so that could just be an artwork anomaly. Can't say for certain. Additionally, the taillights are again colored orange in-game, compared to the red seen in the artwork, and the access point text appears mirrored on both halves of the back section, compared to just being a straight piece of text, so that's a bit of a bummer. And underneath, you have the same changes as seen from the front. A straight axle connecting the two rear wheels, compared to the diagonal setup seen in the artwork. And in addition to that, though, the axles don't directly connect with the center of the wheels, making them appear slightly aloof. Finally, taking a quick glimpse inside, the interior is much clearer than the previous vehicles, but is still more the same. A dull material with minimal detailing. There is only a steering wheel, 2 chairs at the front, and a bench seat in the rear. So, still super simple, but is still just detailed enough to work with. When it comes to gameplay, the Scout's gameplay closely mirrors that of the 2 Stunticon Scouts. He can drive with a standard speed of 78 miles per hour. He can boost and get up to 96 miles per hour. And with the addition of his special ability, he can reach a maximum speed of 144 miles per hour. He can still power slide, which is, again, substantially slower than his default turning ability. For weapons, the Scout has his rooftop turret that can deal a mere 1.5 damage per shot. Again, we're using sideways alt-fire weapon sounds, and will auto-lock on the closest enemy target, where it can be fired up to 40 times before overheating. Unfortunately, though, the auto-lock does not seem to work well as the player, so that's a pity. And he can, of course, reverse. Transitioning over to his transformations, the Combaticon Scout has the standard stationary transformation. And the forward run transformation. Which, honestly, don't appear that differently from each other. When it comes to advanced maneuvers, the Combaticon Scout, again, functions much like the Stunticon Scouts. He can perform only the advanced jump. The advanced melee attack just jolts him straight back to robot mode, and attempting an advanced ground pound just leaves him stuck as a tiny mangle of parts that he will become permanently stuck as for the rest of his miserable life. So that's a close-off of the Combaticon Scout. It is now time to test his combative capabilities in glorious battle.
I will show you true pain.
And what better to have a pro-quo showdown against the main Autobot unit, the Protectobot Scout. These two should be fairly evenly matched in regards to both health and firepower. So it should prove quite interesting to see who the top bot here is. Alright, soldier, go get him!
Engaging Autobot.
Tipsy, twerping. Where are you?
Engaging Decepticon Warrior.
Come on. Rock your world. Dang it. Am I doing any good damage?
Target taking damage.
Second dodge, secondary button free. Ow! Well, maybe not. Oh, hit you that, sucker! Oh! Scrap. I'm out. Alright, that was just round one. Let's go for another round. Okay, round two. Let's go for the high ground. Maybe that'll help.
Moving to rooftop.
Where are you, Autobot? Let's make a deal. Deal is...
Enemy spotted.
Well, I got him. Come on, Autobot. Come on. Bring it on, bot. What? He's climbing. Think not. Oh, he flashed me! Oh, dang! I got flashed. Huh, guess we'll have to go again. Okay, round three, still not doing too good.
Your weapon is free.
This weapon even worse. Oh, scrap! Oh, tipsy piece of junk! Go! Where are you? Where are you?
Firing on enemy.
Scrap. Come on, bot. Where are you going? Boom. Boom. Did I hit him?
Heading to new location.
Are you going up? Are you? I don't think so. That's good damage. That did not work. Come on. Come on.
Enemy target hit.
Come on, Autobot. Come on. Gotta be getting close, right? Come on. One win. Just one. Oh, that's a hit. Come on. Come on. Ah, scrap down again. This is not going well. Okay, round four. I really want to win this time.
Protect the ground and Decepticon.
Yeah, whoa. Robin weave. Get out of my way. Where are you, Autobot? Come on. Come on, Autobot. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, are you stuck? Oh, well, poor you. I'm poor Decepticon, so I'll play unfair. He out.
Taking fire!
He's right there. Let me get him. Come on. Come on. Yeah, nice try, pal. Come on. Give me one kill. Just one, please. Come on. Come on. Oh. Fine. Go. Oh, and I hit him. It's gotta be about weak, right? Come on. Finish him. No. I got good cover. Try and get me now. What? Where's he going? What? I can't. Where did... I hear you. No. Deal with this. Ah, dang it. Okay, so yeah, the Combaticon Scout failed miserably. No kills whatsoever. Yeah. Most of these AI are not doing a whole lot. Keep getting whooped to pieces. He's a really cool looking character, but I don't think he's beating much of anybody. Maybe an Omnibot, but Protectobot, not happening. Okay, well, that's a wrap for our first Combaticon. Let's scurry on to our next one. Up next in our Combaticon collage, we have the Combaticon Sniper. This is the second most common Decepticon adversary in the game. First appearing at the second mission of the game in Shanghai Spiral Highway, Autobot down, after which he becomes a pretty much persistent threat from there on. The Combaticon Sniper is another solid design, who dons a very slouchy and evil posture and incorporates all his helicopter elements exceptionally well. He shares a similar rig to the Protectobot Sniper and reuses most of the same animations too, including Bumblebee's signature idle animation. He too follows the style of the Combaticon Scout, in that he takes his primary inspiration from a member of the original G1 Combaticons. In this case, Vortex, but again, simplifies it in a way where it functions as a generic enemy. With that said, the visual analysis for this one will be very brief, as there really isn't much I can actually address as far as any visual distinctions go. So, we'll just soar through this visual review real quick. Starting up at the head, the Combaticon Sniper design looks to follow the concept art perfectly. However, he has some of the worst neck posture I've ever seen. And if you were to check it from the bottom view, you'll see that he has no faces for his chin area, meaning you can see straight inside his crooked noggin. So that's kind of unfortunate. Continuing down to the chest, which has its front armor made entirely from his front cockpit, similar to TFG Shockwave, but is much more broken up than his was. Rotoring around to the rear, we have what is my favorite aspect of this character's design, and that is the placement of the rotor blades, which have been referred to as Ken as a deranged peacock placement. I personally can't help but be reminded of the soldiers who carry rockets on their back. Mainly the soldiers from Uncharted 2 are what come to mind personally. Anyway, he also dons a yellowish-white Decepticon insignia on the rear of the clavicle panels instead of the white star, as indicated in artwork. He's also the only Combaticon to not have the white star sneak into the final release. It is also here we encounter his particular rigging problem, which in this case is found on the rear right side of his back armor, which breaks apart from the main body when he enters into weapon mode. It's not the most obvious problem, true, as you only likely catch it if you're playing as him, but it's still quite annoying once you're made aware of it. Switching over to the shoulders, there is very little of significance to mention here. The design looks to be translated from the artwork perfectly, with no issues nor objects of note to address. Arrowing down to the arms, they again appear accurately translated over from the concept art, including the black line near the wrist, the caution arrow on the rear of the arm, and he most notably has some missiles on the underside of his arm, which is another one of the trademarks of this design. Everything from the waist down largely mirrors what you see in concept art, sans some very insignificant deco changes. so I'll spare boring you all that, and just summarize that both the thighs and knees are pretty generic in design, just consisting of various green armor sections encasing some dark interior parts. So, closing off at the feet, it is more of the same, but surprisingly, it actually does maintain all the text decals seen in concept art. The caution arrow at the front outer side of the foot, and the numbers and Decepticon insignia on the upper rear of the foot. Granted, they are highly illegible due to the texture quality, but they are indeed present nonetheless. So, that's some complete coverage of the Combaticon Sniper's appearance. Let's take aim and lock on to gameplay. Starting with health, the Combaticon Sniper has a maximum health value of 250 HP, making him somewhat moderate in regards to his physical integrity. Maneuvering onto movements, the Combaticon Sniper can again perform the majority of these standard movements. He can walk, run, jump, no, jump slam, naturally, but he can naturally climb. When it comes to his basic in-game behavior, the Combaticon Sniper behaves much like his Protectobot counterpart. He will fly and take position on a high elevated point and begin engaging his target from a distance with his primary weapon. Should his enemy begin to advance upon him, he will switch out to his secondary weapon to deal some quick damage. And should the enemy advance even closer, they will immediately take flight and relocate to another location, where they will then repeat this tactic. Unlike the Stunticon Sniper, though, the Combaticon Sniper is far more likely to retreat before you can even reach him, especially in some later missions. Readying his weaponry, the Sniper was originally designed to wield a ridiculously long sniper rifle, similar to the Protectobot Sniper. Unlike the Protectobot, though, there is no indication that this model actually made it into the final game at all. So instead, the Combaticon Sniper is now equipped with an arm-mounted gun, which is just a straight-up upscale of the Stunticon Sniper's weapon. Now, onto the actual weapons themselves. For the primary weapon, the Combaticon Sniper is armed with the Railgun, a long-range rifle that functions much like the Stunticon Sniper's concussion rifle. It features entirely unique firing sounds, it can be charged to deal off 30 damage per shot, and unlike the Stunticon's weapon, it has to briefly cool down before it can be used again, though the charging of the weapon is still completely optional. Switching out to his secondary weapon, the Sniper has the Submachine Gun, a mid-range rapid-fire weapon that uses firing sounds from Scorponok's missile launcher from Transformers the Game, delivers 6 damage per shot, and can be fired up to 19 times before overheating. And he can dodge roll in all 4 directions. What's interesting is that the Combaticon Sniper is the only Decepticon character that uses the signature Decepticon sound set who can actually roll. So this is the only time you'll ever hear these sounds used. When it comes to a special ability, the Combaticon Sniper, like so many of the other AI, has no active special ability, but still retains voice lines if you were to attempt to use it. Of course, since his voice is scrambled, I have no idea what he is even saying here, so we're just left to guess what his special ability would have been. For melee, the Combaticon Sniper can perform only a slow, short-range spiral kick that deals out the standard 35 damage upon contact. And aside from that, he has no other melee attacks to make use of, including the ability to toss ambient cars. Well, that's a clear hit on the Combaticon Sniper's robot mode. Let's lift up into vehicle mode. Combaticon Sniper, transform! And here we have the Combaticon Sniper's alt mode, a slight knockoff of the RAH-66 Comanche helicopter. As you can probably tell, it reuses the transformation sounds of Shockwave from Transformers the Game. What's neat about him is that there's actually artwork that directly compares the final game model with the actual source one. So while you can see there are some obvious changes made, we'll still run down exactly what those changes are as we survey this chopper. Starting up at the nose of the copter, the front cover on the top of the nose has been lengthened and a bit more streamlined compared to the source helicopter, which had a bit more of an awkward design. The side of the cockpit has also been redesigned to have its side frames made larger and positioned closer to the bottom of the sides of the copter. The side center of the copter has had its height slightly increased, and the side intake a bit more level with the shape of the copter compared to the original source vehicle. It's also worth noting that the copter has a unique set of unmirrored text decals to go over the would-be backwards ones. I always appreciate when little touches like this are added to a model. Shows real attention to detail. Speaking of text, there was also meant to be some United States text along the base of the tail, but that was obviously cut. Most likely for the same reason the star and Decepticon insignia was cut, or was at least supposed to be cut. The most obvious changes, however, can be found at the tail. First, the base of the tail has had its height increased, where the original just sort of connected directly onto the main body of the copter. And perhaps the most obvious change of all is that the top fins, seen on the tail of the Comanche, have been completely cut from the copter altogether. Rotoring over to gameplay, his performance is very much identical to that of Grindor. He can reach a maximum speed of 67 miles per hour, and with Nitroactive, can reach up to 145 miles per hour. He can strafe from side to side. He can descend and ascend. He can hover midair. For weapons, he has a rapid-fire machine gun that reuses sounds from Starscream's Gatling gun, does 1.5 damage per shot, and can be fired up to 50 times before needing to cool down. Regarding advanced maneuvers, he basically has nothing. He cannot perform a hover maneuver, nor perform an advanced melee attack. And the advanced ground pound just jolts him straight back into robot mode. It is worth noting, though, that in the unused STR file, the sniper actually does make use of a hover maneuver, that the base character obviously does not have. So, there's a little bonus for you. And that is a solid snipe on the Combaticon Sniper. It is now time to take him into battle and test his combat capabilities. And what better candidate to combat against than the Autobot flyboy himself, Breakaway? They're both snipers, they can both fly, and what better choice could there be? So, let's have a snipe off and see who pulls off the cleaner kill. Let's line them up! Alright, Breakaway's incoming, let's put him down. Nope. Yeah.
Decepticon.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm out of here. Yeah. It's my building. I got him. Yeah. Now. Where are you, flyboy? Where you go? Coming in. Coming in.
I've got this one.
Ah. 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 Oh, taking fire. Ah. Oh. Oh, dude. Yeah. You gotta be close, right? Smoking. Yeah. Ah, crap, I'm out. Alright, that didn't go too badly. Let's try again. Alright, round 2. Oops. I really would like a win here. Yeah, miss! Dang it! Yeah. Ooh. Probably retreat. Yeah. Ah, he's on me. Oop. Where is he? Oh, he's right on me. Whoa. No!
You're fighting an uphill battle.
No! I'm gonna go over here. He's right on my tail. I think I nailed him. Where are you going, Breakaway? Yeah, I'm not sticking around. There you are. Oh, no! I'm not staying around you for nothing. God! I don't like this. No! No! Dang it. Alright, round 3. Is this gonna be another disappointing round where I just die every time? I just one win. Just one. Come on, yeah. I want to win. Just once. Boom. No. Try and keep moving. Maybe that'll help. Oh. Ha! Yeah, do all that.
Let me show you what I've got.
Ha! Hit again! Stupid overcharged shot. Yeah! No! Oh! Yeah! Oh, dang it, I missed! Oh! Dang it. Okay, well, last round, I'm probably gonna lose this one too. But let's try and do our best here. Come on. Oh, yeah, no. No. Don't snipe me, bro. Yep. No. Woo. No. Oops. Yeah, keep trying it. See what you get. Oh, stuck, are ya? A pity I don't play fair. Where'd he go?
Breakaway engaging.
Come on. Fall. Fall. Come on.
I'm in a
yes! Finally, I got a win here. Oh, nice. Only took 3 more rounds. Cool. Yeah. Okay, so he's got some talent. Not a lot, because the breakaway beat me 3 times, but he still actually pulled off our first win, so at least we can end on that note. Okay, so Combaticon Sniper is the best character we've got so far, which isn't saying very much because everyone else has failed. He's clearly a decent match for Breakaway. I think I had him smoking every time, but I think in the end Breakaway's still a stronger foe. So, well, we have one more Combaticon in our Combaticon collection to go, so let's go queue him up and clear off our ranks. Let's go! Closing off our collection of Combaticon combatants, we have the Combaticon Warrior. This battling behemoth has to be the most iconic AI design used in the entire game. So much so that it's been carried over to 2 other TF games after this one. It's even Ken's personal favorite design in the game as well. Anyway, he first technically appears in the tutorial levels as a hologram, but the main version appears alongside the Combaticon Scout at Shanghai Spiral Highway in Long Haul Live, after which he becomes a frequently reoccurring foe. Like the other Combaticons, this design takes the key elements of a member of the Combaticons, in this case the leader, Onslaught, and again condenses him magnificently well as a generic, tough-looking enemy unit. Yeah, I have to agree with Ken's sentiment. This is probably the most iconic design in TF gaming history, and the reason it's been reused so much is a testament to that. So, let's blast through this bulky beauty and see what he's made of. Starting at the head, there's actually a couple interesting points to mention. First off, his optics tend to hang a bit too far off his face, and realistically, shouldn't there be 4 of them? In addition to that though, this isn't actually the Warrior's original head design. If you were to look at the character's diffuse texture, you'd see how his head is seemingly pasted over the old one. His actual original head can be found in later games like Dark of the Moon or Rise of the Darkspark. Though even then, that is technically half true, as the head model used for those don't quite line up with the UVs used on the diffuse texture. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back on track here. Continuing down to the chest, it is made from the entire front of the vehicle, and suffers from some strange shadow placements across several parts of the chest, a result of the character's asymmetrical alt mode. As I mentioned with the past 2 Combaticons, the Warrior also suffers from his own rigging anomaly. In this case, it is the very front forward section of the chest that, as you can see, breaks from the rest of the main body. Yeah, I didn't catch this issue until way late into filming. Flaw aside, the design still looks amazing, especially with the inclusion of the dual launchers on his shoulders that even have individually modeled missiles inside the launchers. What can I say? This design is just solid! Blasting around to the back, the design is again on target to the artwork, but it seems like a few lesser details have been cut, including the rear taillights. You obviously still retain the rear door, centered securely in the back, as well as the obvious side panels taken from the sides in vehicle mode. Otherwise, it appears to have been translated exceptionally well. Switching to the shoulders, the armor layout looks to follow the design of the artwork fairly closely. The interior is perhaps a bit more simplified than the artwork originally intended, but it works well enough. They even included the access point text on the front of the shoulder, and we have return of the star logo on the side of the shoulders, which is the second occurrence of this logo sneaking into the game, despite it supposedly being cut due to their policy. The arms also appear to follow their artwork quite accurately. The general shape and design, despite how complex it is, seems all on track. All the armor panels appear to line up, and you have the front wheel as the main base of the arm. Yeah, everything here seems about right. Except for one thing. The hands have several broken UV anomalies on the base of the hand, as well as the two front armor sections. This issue has plagued this model since its first release and has never been fixed in any of its subsequent uses. But considering how scattered the UVs are for this one, I can understand why no one bothered to fix it. Except for me. The hips have very little of significance to address. They follow the artwork accurately enough, and he really gives off some prime bulkhead vibes for me, especially when viewed from the back. Not really sure why though. Focusing on the thighs, the general design follows the artwork pretty well, but it seems a lot of the extra details here got cut. There seemed to be a hatch on the top front armor that was cut, as well as a couple smaller rectangular sections on the bottom that were also cut. But still, the same basic shape is all still there. Narrowing down to the knees, it is much the same as the thighs. Accurate to the artwork, with a lot of the extra interior detailing cut. One feature that has remained, despite being completely illegible in this resolution, is the caution arrow pointing towards the inner sides. So, nice to see that detail still got in. Finishing off at the feet, it again looks to follow the artwork quite accurately, though there are a few slight simplifications made to some of the inner detailing. Most of the core elements are still there, including the small vent-type area on the tip of the big toe, though the rear portion of the foot looks to also have been substantially simplified as well. But there's a bit too much going on here for me to run down for this area alone. Well, that's our visual rundown for the Warrior complete. Let's lock and load over to gameplay.
Ha! Now it's my turn!
Starting with health, the Combaticon Warrior has a maximum health value of 500, making him the toughest of the Combaticons, but also 50 points weaker than the Protectobot. Marching on to movements, he can perform most of the basics. He can walk. He can run. Jump. No jump slam, of course. But he can, of course, punch. As far as his in-game behavior is concerned, the Combaticon Warrior behaves much like the Protectobot Warrior. He will always strive to maintain a constant pursuit of his quarry, and attempt to get in as close as possible and lay the heat on them by smacking them with his stun punch and then igniting them with his flamethrower. Though he can easily be dispatched by being shot in the head, as its large size makes it an incredibly easy target. Moving on to weapons, the Combaticon Warrior is actually unique in that he actually fires from two distinct areas. The first are his primary missile launchers, mounted upon his shoulders. They fire only one shot simultaneously, with each missile doing 10.99 damage per shot, resulting in a combined damage of 29.98, and they can be fired only 4 times before overheating. For his secondary weapon, the Warrior switches to his right arm, where no actual weapon model is present, and ignites his flamethrower, which functions much like the Protectobot Warrior, though the damage has now been nerfed from 12 to 7. It still has unlimited ammo though, so it can never overheat, and he can of course dodge dash in all 4 directions. Though weirdly, he uses a blue Autobot glow when dodging while the flamethrower is equipped, but the glow switches back to normal with the missiles armed, so that's weird. For a special ability, the Combaticon Warrior throws out his iconic Stun Punch, which does only 15 damage upon contact and leaves the enemy stunned for about 2.5 seconds. Combined with his flamethrower, however, this could be a dangerous ability to get caught in. For melee, the warrior could perform only a quick forward punch that does only a mere 15 damage per hit, same as the stun punch. Yeah, honestly thought it'd do more. And as a bonus, he can kick ambient cars for an additional ranged attack. Well, that's a good solid barrage of robot mode. Let's double down into vehicle mode. Combaticon Warrior, transform! And here we have the Combaticon Warrior's alt mode, a modified take of a General Dynamics Striker armored personnel carrier. It reuses transformation sounds from two Transformers the Game characters, Scrappers to Robot Transformation for the vehicle transformation, and the 2 Robot Transformation from Payload, with the bulk of its engine sounds being entirely unique, and it generally follows the actual vehicle and artwork pretty closely, with its most notable change being the inclusion of a missile array added up top. You'll likely see some striking similarities between this and the deluxe wreckage figure from the 2007 toy line, as they are both based upon the same vehicle. It's interesting to note that for some reason the Warrior's vehicle mode does not have a normal map, and as such appears much more dull and flat compared to the other vehicles. Genuinely not sure if they just forgot to include it, or just never bothered to make one. Honestly not sure. Anyway, we'll give this guy a good solid rundown and see how he compares to his concept counterpart. Starting up at the front, the game vehicle follows the artwork quite accurately. The only feature that seems to be missing are the 2 latches on the front. It also looks like the access point text may have been moved back a little bit further to the side in concept art, but otherwise everything else looks to be pretty on point. Switching to a side view, it is almost the spitting image of the concept art. It includes the white Decepticon insignia, opposed to the white star combo, as well as all the appropriate detailing on the underside. Really, the only difference that seems to stand out is the setup of the rear side panel. The holes on the top portion appear to have been originally meant to have been some type of railing, and the placement of the holes on the bottom were originally spaced out by 3 sets of 5, amounting to 15. Though, in-game, they all get jammed packed together and total 18. Other than that, though, everything looks spot on. The wheels take some loose inspiration from the source vehicle, and follow the artwork fairly well, but there are a few noticeable deviations. One of the most obvious changes being the lack of a Michelin logo on the wheels, and the geometry is also somewhat simplified, lacking the ridges seen in the concept art, and the center of the rim is missing its center ring detailing. But all in all, it looks fairly accurate. And of course, I can't forget to highlight his missile launcher, which is virtually on point with the artwork, and like robot mode, even has some individually modeled missiles inside the turret itself. That is some dedication. Really, the only issues I can find is that there was originally a more complicated base for the turret that featured some additional supports on the side, as well as a panel with 5 holes on the front and back. Instead, it just sort of sits on top of a round base. Oh, and on top of that, he's missing a warning tag on the rear side of the turret, but otherwise, it looks great. Winding round to the rear, it again follows the artwork pretty accurately. It has the armored panels on the rear door, along with the access point text, though it is again mirrored. There also seems to have been some modifications made to the taillights. The basic shape is correct, but they seem to have been originally connected to some additional protrusions instead of just resting on the sides of the striker. There also looked to have been a more originally detailed undersection in the concept art, with actual axles that were, again, completely cut from the final model, going in favor of a much more simplistic approach. Moving inside, the interior is pretty bland. Nothing much inside besides a couple benches. Though the interior itself is actually pretty detailed, having its own texture data instead of just being a bland batch of some drab, dull texture. So, it works well for what it's meant to be. Blasting onto gameplay, the Warrior can reach a maximum speed of about 74 miles per hour, and with Nitro active, gets up to about 90 miles per hour. He can kind of power slide. It's extremely slow and clumsy though. For weapons, he can fire a single missile that does 30 damage before quickly cooling down, though its auto lock isn't particularly good. So I don't think you'll end up hitting much, at least as the player. And he can, of course, reverse. forward transformations, he has the stationary transformation. And the forward run transformation. Which aren't anything particularly special. For advanced maneuvers, the Warrior can perform a bit more than the standard AI enemy. He can perform the advanced jump. He can even actually perform a fully functional advanced melee attack that deals 90 damage. And he can somewhat perform the advanced ground pound. It doesn't have an actual pound effect, and he freezes on the outro animation. But at least it somewhat works. That is a solid summary on this bulky bot. It is now time to see if he is worthy of the name Combaticon. And I figured the best one to test his mettle against would be none other than Optimus Prime himself. Prime is as tough as they come, so he should be able to give our Combaticon here more than his share of a fair fight. Alright, Warrior, let's see what you're made of. Alright, Prime, let's dance. That's no good.
Firing on Optimus. Unleashing special weapon.
Dang it, he's dealing with himself. Burn, you sucker, burn!
Is that all you got?
Can't take the heat? Too bad! Oh. Come on. Oh, dang it, missed. Ooh. Ah. Ah. Ah.
Fire all weapons.
Burn, Prime! Oh! Ho ho! I got him! Well, not bad for your first round. But you probably just got lucky. Let's go another. Alright, Prime, round 2. Yeah. Oh, dang it! Missed again.
Engaging Autobot.
Target is wounded. Pour it on.
He's got some knockback. Oh, shield's up. Oh no, stay away from me. Dang it! I want to stun him.
I am under attack.
Ah! Come on, burn, Prime. Oh! 2 for 2. Not bad. Maybe there's more than just luck going on here. Let's keep going. Okay, Prime, round 3. Let's take this over here.
Prime,
Ground pound me. Nope. Ah! Dang it, I thought I was safe. Taste my barrage.
is that all you got?
Oh, yes! Burn, Prime! Finally got that stun. Ugh. Burn! Come here, Prime. Oh, dang it, missed. Oh, this is bad.
Target is wounded. Pour it on.
Oh, shield's up. No. Oh, no. Yeah.
Target has been eliminated.
All right, Prime. Last round. I'm already winning. Let's see if I can end on a high note.
Powering up
Oh,
special
jump
weapon.
and stun. Oh.
Decepticons. They must be eliminated.
Burn, Prime. Oh. No. Yeah. Dang it. Huh. Burn, Prime.
Sustaining damage.
Get him? Not yet. Oh, there he goes.
Optimus Prime, you fight no better than your lapdogs.
Well, now. Warrior after all. Okay, well. This dude's actually worthy of the name Warrior. He took Prime out almost every single time. So clearly, the Warrior is more than a match for an unupgraded Prime. That's useful knowledge to know. So if he's more than a match for the Autobot's best, that's saying something. Alright, let's put a lid on the Combaticons and build up our 2 Constructicons. Starting us off with our first Constructicon, we have the Constructicon Front Loader, more commonly known as Scrapper. This iconic character first shows up in the Autobot Deep 6 mission, Megatron Reborn, as an idle enemy lying in wait across various carriers. He makes a few more appearances at several East Coast missions, after which he is never seen again. Visually, Scrapper seems to be a rough blend between his concept art and his final CGI render, but more so seems to follow the CGI render. Scrapper, as you can obviously tell, shares the majority of his animations with Megatron, but is otherwise unique in regards to having his own rig. Since there is no direct game artwork to go off of, we'll make what comparisons we can with his final CGI render and see just how accurate or inaccurate he is. I can tell from an initial glance that the color is quite a bit off. According to the CGI, Scrapper comes off as a bold yellow-orange color, but appears much more faded in-game. Still, despite this minuscule mishap, we shall run through him all the same and see what other distinctions we can dig up. Starting up at the head, Scrapper has a design very much identical to his final CGI render. There may be a few areas that are not appropriately colored, but overall, I can't find too much wrong here. Carrying on to the chest, he's missing a black line along with a B340 decal on the upper clavs, as well as another black line on the upper ab panels. There's also the inclusion of some tiny blue rectangles that I cannot find any reference for on the CGI or artwork. But regardless, the chest itself still looks pretty solid. Rotating round to the rear, there are quite a few details missing. Mainly the black Decepticon insignia on the upper back, as well as the black lines in the center side armor, and there are also some small orange squares in the exact center of the back that are also absent. But overall, it still looks pretty good. Switching to the shoulders, they again appear quite accurate with the final CGI render. However, it looks like the dark gray areas around the main shoulder should have been colored to match with the rest of the armor, but otherwise appears accurate enough. The arms are where things start to get interesting, as Scrapper has asymmetrical arms. Asymmetrical arms that have some very bizarre setups. Starting on the left arm, the most normal of the two, it appears to have a 5-pointed claw that, as we know from the movie, Scrapper uses as a flail weapon. Pity it isn't so in-game. It is missing a white logo that I can't quite make out from this resolution, but it does have the connected wires, so that's a nice addition, I suppose. And on the other hand, literally, you have this monstrosity. Now, I don't know exactly what this is or what it's supposed to do. Closest I've seen to it in concept art is for another similarly designed Constructicon, where this small object here is used as some type of welder. Other than that, I couldn't tell you how he's supposed to use this thing. All that I can tell you is that it appears accurate with its reference material. The hips are once again fairly on point with the CGI reference, containing all the appropriate pieces, and even have a set of wires hanging off the rear, just like the final CGI render. The only detail that sticks out here is that the cylinders on the rear of the hips are the wrong color. They should be the same yellow-orange color as the rest of him. The thighs contain a quarter of his rear wheel that goes a little bit too far over than where it should have gone, as they cover a circular protrusion that is meant to be visible. Though the detail itself is still included on the texture, so it's right, just not right enough. The knees have very little of significance to mention. Everything here looks about right, though I will briefly mention that the rear hydraulics don't directly connect between the thigh and the knee, but considering that he shares Megatron's animations, I suppose this is understandable. Finishing off with the feet, they are made from his front scoop, as well as the front tire for the heel of the foot, both features being on point with the source material. And that is a solid haul of Scrapper's visual rundown. Let's push on over to gameplay. Starting with health, Scrapper has a maximum health value of 650, making him 150 points stronger than the Combaticon Warrior. For movement, Scrapper can perform most of these standard amounts. He can walk, run, jump. No jump slam, obviously. But he can, of course, climb. As far as his basic gameplay behavior is concerned, Scrapper functions very much on the cowardly side. He will strive to maintain the bare minimum distance from the player, and will begin backing off if you so much as start to advance on him. Though, considering how poor his weapons are, that might actually be a smart strategy. He will resort to melee only if you get right up on him, but otherwise he'll prefer to keep his distance as much as possible. Readying his weaponry, Scrapper's weapon is actually formed straight from his existing arm parts, a feature which is a first for a character from this game. For his primary weapon, Scrapper is equipped with the Plasma Carbine, a weak, close-range shotgun-like weapon with unique firing sounds that does a mere 11 damage per shot and can be fired only 5 times before overheating. So, not super effective. For his secondary weapon, Scrapper can switch out to the Napalm Rocket, which fires an extremely slow projectile that does 25 damage per shot and can be fired only 4 times before overheating. And he can, of course, dodge dash. And he can actually cover quite a bit more distance than I expected him to. Scrapper has no active special ability, nor any voice lines to indicate what said ability might have been, so there's nothing to mention on that front. For melee, Scrapper can perform only a single forward swipe that deals only 35 damage. Honestly expected a bit more from him, to be honest. And, like Megatron, he can kick ambient cars as an additional ranged attack. And that's all for Scrapper's robot mode. Let's take a load off and duck down into vehicle mode. Scrapper, transform! And here we have Scrapper's alt mode, an almost picture-perfect take on the Caterpillar 99 2D front loader. It seems to have entirely unique transformation sounds, and shares the bulk of his engine sounds with Megatron. I think this might be the most accurate alt mode in the entire game. Seriously, this model matches the source vehicle almost point to point. In fact, I think some minor decal differences are the only real distinctions he has. Still, we'll give him a quick rundown to be sure. Starting at the scoop, the design of the scoop looks to be almost perfectly on par with the source vehicle, missing only a couple small protrusions in the front of the bucket. The cab design again mirrors that of the source vehicle quite well, with the only noticeable modifications being a Decepticon insignia and some diagonal rectangles taking the place of the black line and the B430 decal seen on the source vehicle. There is also no glass on the cab, and there is no black Decepticon insignia posted on the front of the cab. But otherwise, this design looks to be on point. The main body of the vehicle also looks to be on target as well, with the only standout distinctions being the change from a couple black lines running across the side to a set of gray and dark gray dashes in their place, and also the lack of a B430 decal. The wheels, too, follow the design of the source vehicle quite well. They have yellow hubcaps with an intersection. Really, the only thing that's off here is that the saturation could be a bit stronger, but otherwise looks pretty good. Yeah, there really aren't any obvious changes or flaws for me to point out here, and since my direct reference for this vehicle is rather limited, that's probably as good as a synopsis as I can give. I will say though, whoever did this model work absolutely killed it. Props to whoever made this. You did good. Scooping up for gameplay, Scrapper can drive at a maximum speed of 74 miles per hour, and with Nitroactive, can get up to around 90 miles per hour. He can power slide, but due to the way the vehicle is rigged, the entire scoop section completely turns in on itself and will go straight through the main vehicle. So, that's a little awkward. Oh yeah, and you can plow through stuff. But I suppose that should be obvious. He also has no vehicle weapons to mention, but he can, of course, reverse. Though it, too, causes him to fold in on himself. For transformations, Scrapper has the stationary transformation, and the forward run transformation. Nothing too special for either one. For advanced maneuvers, Scrapper functions much the same as the other AI. He can perform only the advanced jump. The advanced melee attack only snaps him back to robot mode. And the advanced ground pound locks him into the pound animation permanently. And that is our snappy survey of Scrapper. It is now time to see if he is worthy of the name by bringing in an Autobot for him to scrap. And for that, I have decided to bring back the Combaticon Scout. He may be small, but he should still provide just enough fight to make things interesting. Let's get scrappin'! Alright, bot, let's go. Not sure what playstyle's gonna work best here. These weapons suck either way, so I'm kind of at a disadvantage, but I'll do what I can. Where you going, bot? Going for him. No.
Up ahead.
Why can't I have more ammo? Come on. Ooh. That comes from good distance. Ah, scrap. I got scrapped. Oh well, that was expected. Okay, round 2, let's change tactics. I'm gonna go for the high ground. Yep, you can shove stuff with your plow. That's pretty fun. Right, climb. Dang, you're a big boy. Big boy with weak weapons. Oh, watch it. Oh, dodge this. Oh. Come on.
Like that one bit.
God, these weapons are doing like nothing. Where'd he go? Oh, no, no. I'm not falling for that again. Ooh. Going up. Yeah. Hello. Oh, there he is. Where's he going? Going over there? Hello. Oh, stupid rockets. Yeah. I think his rockets are better than mine. Ah, scrap. Got me again. Okay, round 3. I'm not liking my chances here. This guy's weapons are just pitiful.
Engaging Decepticon threat.
The distance factor does seem to be helping, but not by much. Oh. Your name's Scrapper. Why can't you scrap stuff? Oh, quit moving.
They're taking hits.
I can't take too many more hits. Oh, that was pitiful. Ugh. Okay, we'll go one more time. I'm gonna go in close this time. Hold still, you little vermin. Wow.
Talk.
That was pathetic. Okay, Scrapper is absolutely not worthy of the name Scrapper. This dude is just pathetic. You'd think, being as big as he is, he would do more damage, but his weapons are just pitiful. He doesn't stand a chance. If his weapons packed more of a punch, he might be a worthy contender, but as it stands, he's scrap. Well, we have one more Constructicon to cover in our Constructicon collection, so let's go queue him up. Maybe he'll perform better. Closing off our Constructicon crusade, we have the Constructicon Warrior. Like Scrapper, this powerhouse first shows up in the Deep Six mission, Megatron Reborn, as another one of the enemies stationed on the carriers. But he does make a few more appearances at several East Coast locations, as well as makes a return visit in Egypt. Visually, the Warrior is obviously just Longhall's yellow skin, so the visual analysis for this character is going to be pretty brief, as there is no direct artwork to go off of, so we'll just stick to pointing out any key changes his deco has received compared to his green counterpart. Starting at his upper body, he has a new black stripe wrapping around the lower side of his top armor that dons a purple Decepticon insignia. Compare that to the simple orange vertical line that Longhall has. On the back, he dons some yellow-black caution lines, as well as some small red-white dashes below where Longhall previously had no decals at all. The sidearm plates have had some black diagonal stripes added to the top of the panels, along with a red section engraved with a hole for a yellow Decepticon insignia. And on the very bottom of the arms, he dons a small set of red and white stripes. And finally, closing down at the legs, he has some red-white stripes lining the front of the knee, as well as another set of small red-white dashes on the side panel covering his side wheel. So yeah, not a lot different visually compared to Long Haul, but I think they gave him just enough to make him not too terribly boring. Well, with the visual analysis over and done with, let's get down and dirty and get into the gameplay. Starting with health, the Constructicon Warrior has a maximum health value of 750, making him 100 points tougher than Scrapper, thus making him the toughest enemy ground unit in the game. Since the Constructicon Warrior is a straight-up clone of Long Haul, he can perform all the movements that Long Haul can. He can walk, run, jump, jump slam, which deals damage, and he can, of course, climb. Regarding basic in-game behavior, the Stunticon Warrior will strive to maintain a mid-range distance minimum from his target due to the limited range of his weapons. He will first fire his shockwave weapon, and then immediately switch to his shell cannons, and then repeat this firing pattern. He will maintain position unless the player moves closer or falls back. Either way, his response is the same. He will advance closer, and if you get too close, he'll either resort to melee or back off to avoid you using melee. Obviously, distance is your greatest asset, so keep that in mind when dealing with him, and you should be able to handle him no problem. For weapons, the Constructicon Warrior shares his weapon models with Long Haul, so he has the same model as used for Long Haul's dual grenade launchers, as well as the Omnibot's primary weapon. For his primary weapon, though, the Warrior wields the Flame Wave Generator, which is essentially a clone of Grindor's shockwave weapon. It uses unique firing sounds, deals only 25 damage per hit, a surprisingly weak weapon, if you ask me, and it can be fired only once before quickly cooling down. For his secondary weapon, the Warrior wields the Explosive Shell Cannon, a mediocre weapon with a mediocre range. It shares the same model as Long Haul's flamethrowers. It deals 18.10 damage per shot, shares its firing sounds with the human tank enemy, and can be fired up to 5 times before needing to cool down. And like Long Haul, he can also dash, quite far I might add, in all 4 directions. The Warrior, like Scrapper, has no special ability, nor any lines to indicate what said ability would have been. For melee, the Constructicon Warrior is one of the only Decepticon enemies that can perform a full free melee combo. The first hit does 45, the second hit also does 45, and the third hit deals 55, dealing a maximum damage of 145, making him quite a decent threat at close range. The Warrior is also one of the only enemies that can perform a charged melee attack, that, like Long Haul, deals 75 damage upon contact. And he can also kick ambient cars as an additional ranged attack. And that's all for the Constructicon Warrior's robot mode. Let's take a dump and truck down into vehicle mode. Constructicon Warrior, transform! And here we have the Constructicon Warrior's alt mode, a slightly modified take on the Caterpillar 773B. There are a few slight tweaks made between this vehicle and the actual model used in the film, but I won't be focusing on any of that here. Instead, I'll just address the standout deco changes between this and the original green vehicle. Starting up at the cab, the Warrior wears some yellow-black stripes, as well as some red-white dashes, where Long Haul previously went bare. The front has had its main decals changed up quite a bit from what we've seen on Long Haul. The basic shape is still the same, but the 4 white dashes inside have been removed, and the horizontal red line has been moved up toward the top instead of being closer to the bottom. Also, his innermost light has now been recolored from silver to orange. That is an interesting change. The side of the dump bed closely mirrors what is seen in robot mode. He again wears the signature red section with the same yellow Decepticon insignia hole cut in. as well as the diagonal black stripes going down the side and the small red-white dashes, which were actually not present on the panels in robot mode. The interior, or what little you have in the cab, doesn't consist of very much. There's a chair, a steering wheel, and a gear shift or dump lever. Not sure which. Either way, it serves its purpose well enough, but it isn't anything particularly special. Treading on to gameplay, the Warrior's vehicle naturally mirrors Longhaul's vehicle performance. It can drive at a maximum speed of 74 miles per hour, and with Nitro can get up to around 90 miles per hour. Same values as Scrapper, actually. He can also power slide, granted it is extremely slow and clumsy. He has no vehicle weapons, unfortunately, but he can do reverse. For transformations, the Warrior again mirrors Longhaul's data. So, he has the stationary transformation, the forward run transformation, and the swift reverse transformation, again being one of the only AI characters that can perform this maneuver. For advanced maneuvers, the Warrior maintains all of Longhaul's data, so he can perform all three maneuvers. He can perform the advanced jump, the advanced melee attack, which deals 90 damage, and the advanced ground pound, which deals your typical 100 damage. And that's the load on the Constructicon Warrior. Well, it is now time to take a load off this showcase and study, and see how much damage this guy can haul out. Since he is the toughest of the Decepticon forces, I've decided to bring back Optimus, our most worthy adversary. Let's see if this warrior has what it takes to bury Prime in the past. Let's dump this doofus. Okay, Prime, let's go. Shield it. Oh, missed me. Bow, bow, boom, boom, oh. Ground pound. Oh, dang it.
Destroy the target.
I've got advanced maneuvers, boy. Oh, down already. Well, promising start, but this was only the first round. Let's give him another go. Okay, round 2, Prime.
Decepticons, open fire.
At least this thing did more damage. Oh, I'll be shielded.
Is that all you got?
That is one satisfying firing sound. Ah! Chase me, Prime. Cool.
I am under attack.
Nope. How does that feel? Oh! Ho, ho, ho.
By Primus.
Wow. Down again. Not bad, Con. Let's go one more round. Alright, Prime, round 3. Ready to lose again?
You could not defeat me on my weakest day.
Shielded. What are you doing, Prime? I'm not over there. He's gonna ground pound me. Oh, miss. Bonk. Feels good, don't it? I got no vehicle weapons. Taking a beating, ain't you? Oh, down goes Prime. I want to smash him. Oh, I'm gonna smash him. Well, clearly we have another worthy foe. Stunticon Warrior can hold his own against Prime pretty darn well. Even better than the Combaticon Warrior could. Not bad at all. Okay, so far, both the Constructicon Warrior and the Combaticon Warrior have been worthy of their appropriate title. They're the only two cons so far who have bested their adversary. And they both beat an unupgraded Optimus, so if they can beat him, that's saying a lot. But that does conclude our Constructicon collection. We have one more batch of characters left, so let's go forth and seek them out. And finishing off with our final set of Decepticon Decadence, we have our survey of the Decepticon Seekers. And starting off this survey, we have the Seeker Sniper. The aerial antithesis to the aerial bots, the Decepticon Seeker first appears at Deep Six's Autobot mission, Megatron Reborn, and appears only once again at the East Coast downtown, where he escorts Sam around town. As I mentioned in the Autobot video, the Seeker shares a rig and most of his animations with the aerial bot, which you can especially tell by their arrival cinematics being exactly the same. Visually, this is another slam dunk design that I think combines the G1 styling of the original Seekers with the realistic attributes of the Bayverse designs beautifully. In fact, certain earlier artwork samples remind me a lot of the Seekers from the Bumblebee movie. As you can tell, Sniper's deco is shared with the multiplayer character, which is obviously inspired by Skyward. Unfortunately, unlike the aerial bots, there is no source artwork for me to refer to for this deco. However, like the Stunticon Sniper, there is a bonus concept skin that is both presented in artwork and has a set of unused textures in-game. I won't be referring to any of these during this run-through, but feel free to make comparisons to them on your own time. For now, we'll warp through the Seeker's appearance and see what noteworthy distinctions stand out. Starting at the head, the shape appears on point with the artwork. Deco-wise, it is primarily gray, with a small streak of purple lining the forehead. Nothing else of note to mention here. Continuing to the chest, the shape again mirrors the artwork accurately. Deco-wise, it is primarily purple, with little spots of bright red scattered about. On his back rest both his wings and his vertical stabilizers. The wings were originally designed to be somewhat asymmetrical, with the wings wearing a number on one wing and a Decepticon insignia on the other. However, since the wings are mirrored, that particular element goes unused. The vertical stabilizers don the Seeker Squad logo, though it is unfortunately mirrored, and it is also missing its mascot decal, which I'll cover in more depth shortly. Switching to the shoulders, they again appear accurate with the source art, sans some more circuitry simplification. Their only standout points are a section of gray armor up top, and another purple section curving the rear. His arms wear an erratic rainbow of gray, red, and purple, and do have one significant mesh deviation from the concept art. Evidently, a row of missiles was meant to be placed on the rear of the arm, but they are noticeably absent here. They were, however, used on Air Raid in the Dark of the Moon game. I had no idea the inspiration for that design choice came straight from the original concept art. Very interesting. The thighs are again primarily purple, with the design again mirroring of what is indicated in the artwork. The knees and feet are entirely dark gray, sans some purple on the rear fin, and the design once again lining up with what you see in the concept art. And that's all for the Seeker's visual summary. Let's seek onto gameplay.
You have no chance against us!
Starting with health, the Seeker Sniper has a maximum health value of 300, making him 25 points weaker than the standard aerial bot. Proceeding to the movements, the Seeker, like the MP character, can perform all the basic movements. He can walk, run, jump, jump slam, which deals the standard 60 damage, and of course, he can climb. It is worth noting, though, that the camera cannot turn as far upwards as standard characters can. His in-game behavior is pretty straightforward. He'll fly to a highly elevated location on the map and stay there, continually firing his rocket sniper. Unless, of course, you get close, in which case he'll switch out. But yeah, really not much more to mention to him than that. Warping onto weapons, the Seeker shares his weapon models with the aerial bots, which means he inherits the same animation bugs as well. For ranged weapons, he has his primary guided missile, an incredibly long-range lock-on weapon that reuses firing sounds from the MP Seeker's secondary weapon, does around 20 damage per hit, and can be fired only once before quickly cooling down. The Seeker can also switch out to his secondary minigun, a weak weapon that makes up for its low damage with a ridiculously rapid fire rate. It has unique firing sounds, deals only about 1 damage per shot, but can be fired around 127 times before overheating. And he can dash in all 4 directions. For his special ability, the Seeker, unlike the Aerial Bot, actually has no active ability, though he does maintain the voice lines for his multiplayer teleportation ability.
Order received.
For melee, the Seeker is another one of the only AI to perform a full free melee combo attack, with the initial hit doing 30 damage, the second hit also doing 30, and the final doing 45, resulting in a total maximum damage of 105, same as the Aerial Bots. The Seeker can also dish out a charged melee surge that deals 65 damage, again same as the Aerial Bot. And he too can kick ambient cars as an additional ranged attack. Well, that's all for robot mode. Let's flip on over to vehicle mode. Decepticon Seeker, transform! And here we have the Decepticon Seeker's alt mode, a slightly modified F-18 Super Hornet, with a deco again loosely inspired by Skyward. It is worth mentioning though that the original concept deco for this jet was actually used in the game for the Nest jet fighters during the Deep Six battle. So both concept versions of the robot and vehicle of the Seeker actually did get fully finished textures. As far as the source vehicle goes, the model follows both the concept art and the source vehicle pretty closely. However, some minor deviations may be present, and we will seek them out to see if there are any. Starting up at the nose, it wears a purple wrap around the top, with the rest of the center being primarily gray. The cockpit seems to be where the bulk of the legal changes have been made. The jet now seems to hold a single pilot in the cockpit instead of having space for a WSO, and there's also an additional extrusion on the base of the jet that has been noticeably cut here. Again, like the F-16, there don't seem to be a whole lot of actual changes required for the approval of aircraft, legally speaking, especially compared to the various car brands. Deco-wise, the cockpit is surrounded primarily by silver, with a stripe of purple running down the rear, though the lighting between the cockpit glass does seem a bit off. One looks quite a bit darker than the other. Wish that had been corrected. The core body is black, with streaks of purple running down the sides, along with the 4 trapezoids tucked between the vertical stabilizers. The wings are primarily black, surrounded by various small shreds of purple, and from the underside, it is a nice blend of black, purple, and silver, and you have a row of 4 missiles, stocked, locked, and ready to go. The vertical stabilizers actually have some interesting bit of trivia about them. The deco first is primarily a darker shade of purple, with just a small spot of black along the rear, along with a distinct decal that looks like some form of turbine. But the real interesting bit involves the text decals. All Seekers wear a Seeker Squad decal, along with a large D. What's interesting is there was originally a bit more to it. Aside from a simple 101 for the squad number, there was also a canned mascot in the form of Crim Zeke from the titular G1 episode. I have no idea why he was cut. There's space for him on the texture map, so he was clearly meant to be here, but for some reason, he got cut out. The horizontal stabilizers dot a zigzag of purple and black, with their little of note to mention. Going down under, the intakes have been colored red at the tip, with a thick layer of purple running down the rest, and a thin layer of silver breaking up the center. And that's a wrap for the jet visuals. Let's boost on over to gameplay. When it comes to functionality, the Seeker jet functions slightly different from the standard jet. He has a maximum speed of 45 miles per hour, and with Nitroactive gets up to 65 miles per hour. He can bank, ironically much slower than he can turn. His vertical adjustments are borderline sluggish. His vehicle weapons do 28 damage per shot, and are able to be fired 4 times before overheating. And he can perform all 4 stunt maneuvers. When it comes to advanced maneuvers, the Seeker can perform them all, just like his MP counterpart. He can hover, which has a faster movement speed compared to the standard hover ability, though the player cannot ascend or descend while using it. He can perform the advanced melee attack, which deals out 80 damage. And he can perform the advanced ground pound, which deals the standard 100 damage. And that's the shot on the Seeker Sniper. It is now time to zoom into battle and see how good of a shot he is. And who better to go up against than Breakaway? Both can fly, both are snipers. What better choice could there be? Let's set up and snipe him out. All right, breakaway, time to break apart. Yes, I know I stole that line. Nope. Oh. No. No. No.
Engaging Decepticon.
Ah! Ah! Take this. Fly away, breakaway. Fly away.
Enemy unit. He's mine.
Go home, robot. Gotta be about dead by now. Yeah! Take that. Rust heap. Okay, that's round 1 for me. So let's hit it a couple more times. Okay, breakaway, round 2.
Enemy spotted!
Oh, moving. Alright. Did I hit him? Yes, I did. Charge it!
Your destruction inevitable!
Oh, that was pathetic. We might have another winner here, but let's give it one more round to be sure. Okay, breakaway, one last round. You ain't doing too good, though. Oh, too soon. Right. Oh, right behind me. Oh, direct hit. Oh.
Enemy targeted. I'm on him.
Boom. Oh, this thing handles terribly. Right, right behind me again, huh?
Hit confirmed!
Oh, that's a hit. Can't have that much more left. Oh, dang it. What? No. Oh, that's a clean sweep.
Threat neutralized!
Okay. Secret Sniper is surprisingly decent. Yeah, gave Breakaway a real run for his money. Have to admit, surprised I didn't die here. Okay, well, as we've clearly seen, Secret Sniper is actually quite competent. A bit surprised, to be honest. If he didn't stand still so much in the base game, he'd probably be a bit more of a worthy adversary. But in the player's hands, he's actually a pretty decent threat. Okay, well that's one Seeker down. We have 2 more to go. Let us continue on and seek them out. Up next in our Seeker survey, we have the Decepticon Seeker Warrior. Much like the first aerial bot, this character is the rarest Decepticon enemy in the game, appearing only once at the final level of the Decepticon campaign at Cairo Pyramid, as one of the enemies the Fallen calls upon to aid him against Megatron. Like the Sniper, there isn't any background information nor artwork to go off of for this deco, so we'll just highlight some of the distinctions that turn up. Starting up at the head, it is made primarily of this dusty shade of black, with some small spots of red up at the top. Continuing at the chest, it is reversed, now primarily red, with a gorgeous blue glow shining off that cockpit. Oh, that's shiny. The vertical stabilizers bear a loose reference to G1 Frost's original decal, a thick stream of white inside a thicker stream of red, with the Crimzeek decal now present, as is the Seeker Squad text, though it is now further down compared to the Sniper. The wings are primarily red, with a thick streak of black now lining the center. The arms and shoulders don't bear much of significance to mention, just a few sections of red thrown in to liven up all that black. The hips are mostly red, with the interesting inclusion of a new set of yellow triangles on the front. The entirety of the legs look to be almost completely red, sans a few dark gray pieces thrown in to liven it up a little. And that's all for the Seeker Warrior's robot mode. Let's blast on to gameplay.
Now you will play!
Starting with health, the Seeker Warrior has a maximum health value of 375, making him 75 points tougher than the Sniper. His in-game behavior is much the same as the Autobot Scout, taking up a hovering position over his enemy and raining down fire upon them, and never resorting to melee even when approached upon. Readying onto weapons, the Warrior wields the same weapon model as used by the Sniper Seeker, which also inherit all the same trippy traits as well. For his primary weapon, the Seeker Warrior is armed with the Incendiary Gun, a weak weapon with a scrap ton of ammo that reuses sounds from Prime's light weapon from Transformers the game, does around 0.80 damage per hit, and can be fired up to 103 times before it has to cool off. Switching over to his secondary weapon, the Warrior wields the Rocket Pod, a slow, long-range weapon with a decent fire rate, very much similar in functionality to the Autobot's forward launcher, that reuses Starscream's secondary fire sounds, deals 10 damage per hit, and can be fired up to 7 times before overheating. All other gameplay aspects mirror the Sniper, so we'll just wrap up Robot mode and jet onto Vehicle mode. Decepticon Seeker Warrior, transform! The Decepticon Seeker Warrior again turns into a slightly modified F-18 Super Hornet, with a deco obviously inspired by Thrust. Since we've already covered the bulk of the vehicle changes and all the gameplay elements already, we'll just highlight the visual distinctions of the jet. Starting up at the nose, the tip is entirely black, with a wave of red engulfing the rest of it. Continuing to the cockpit, its colors are a bit inconsistent at the front glass, as the front glass appears much darker and stronger compared to the back, which is quite a bit brighter. The main body is primarily red, with several blots of black scattered about, as well as some small white streaks stretched along the sides. Resuming at the wings, they mirror what is seen in Robot mode. The top is primarily black, with a thick streak of red running through the center, and the bottom is the opposite, primarily red with a thick set of black in the middle. The vertical stabilizers again pay homage to Thrust with the signature red and white curved decal, though it doesn't properly connect to both sides as you can see. Also kind of triggering. The horizontal stabilizers have just a small simple shard of red pointing towards the main body. Finally, closing off with the underside is actually primarily silver with the sides being fully red. And that's a wrap on the Seeker Warrior. Now, let us thrust ourselves into some combat. I think, however, we are in need of a change of scenery. And here we are at Cairo Pyramids. Yeah, this is literally the only way I can properly showcase this character in combat, as he tends to despawn when the Fallen isn't set up quite right, which happens quite frequently at the East Coast L-Train map swap. And who better to pit him up against than the Sky Commander himself, Starscream. Yeah, we have to fight a Decepticon on this map because that's who the AI is programmed to fight. Now, this might get a bit quirky, but this is as good as a demonstration as it's gonna get. So, let's go seek out our shooting star. Alright, Screamer, time to make you scream. Boom!
Help me.
Oh.
Target locked on.
Rock your world, boy.
Stop shooting me.
Oh. I got backup. Oh, he's not surviving that. Huh. Well, I told you it was going to be a bit quirky. Let's give that another go. Okay, round 2.
Hurry! Obliterate the target.
Let's try something different.
Firing on enemy.
Oh, talk about a hailstorm. Hurrah! Going down, Screamer. Oh man, he's tougher than I thought. Oh, but not tough enough. Okay, that was a bit more fair. Let's give that another go. Okay, round 3. Let's hit the ground.
Firing on enemy.
These things are too slow. Dang it. Oh, I'm
Taking
crit.
fire.
Starscream. Oh! Fallen got that one. Okay. Let's try, one more time. Okay, Screamer, last round. Dang it. Fuck off, Screamy. Fuck off. He's gotta be about dead by now. Oh. Seems like he's tied up.
Impossible. Not me. Not me, Starscream.
You got it. Okay. I think I learned enough from that. Okay, so it seems the Seeker and Starscream are pretty evenly matched. Both can take a decent beating, and can also deliver a decent beating. So these two are pretty balanced as far as I can tell. Granted, that was a bit quirky, but there's not much I can really do about that. But I think we got enough to determine his strength level. Okay, we have one more character left. Let's seek him out and wrap this thing up. And finally, closing off of our third and final Seeker in the sum up, we have the Decepticon Seeker Warrior 2. Far more common than his predecessor, this Seeker makes his first appearance at Deep 6 after repairing all the carrier guns, but makes a return at the East Coast downtown as well as at the Cairo Pyramids. Like the previous Warrior, there is no artwork nor background information for me to refer to, other than he is obviously based upon G1 Thundercracker, and is the most directly G1 inspired deco of the Seekers. So for that reason, we'll just run down him as we did the previous Warrior by highlighting any distinctions of his deco. Starting up at the head, he dons several faint blue highlights across his front head armor that provide a nice bit of variety compared to just simple gray. The chest is covered in primarily blue armor, with an obvious orange cockpit lining the center. The wings don the signature red and white Seeker wing pattern, with a white Decepticon insignia lining the top, and from the rear you have another white Decepticon insignia over a small red-orange section. Right nearby you have his vertical stabilizers, which wear another pattern quite similar to the original G1 pattern, and it turns out this Seeker, like the previous one, actually makes use of the Crimzeek mascot decal, although again, the Seeker Squad text has been moved further down. Both the arms and shoulders look to be entirely blue, with no other distinct details to mention. The thighs again look to be entirely blue, sans some gray on the center outer side panel. And the knees and feet follow this trend of being entirely blue, with some fainter dark blue highlights thrown into some of the inner workings. And that's all for the appearance assessment. Let's crack onto gameplay.
Order received.
Since the only feature unique to this character are his weapons, we shall limit our examination to them. He shares the same model as the previous Warrior, which also inherits all the same traits, including the bugs. For the primary weapon, the Seeker is armed with the Gatling gun, a slow-rate weapon with a lot of ammo, which reduces firing sounds from the MP Seeker, does around 2.75 damage per hit, and can be fired up to 52 times before needing to cool down. He can also switch out to his secondary grenade cluster, a slow, inaccurate, but deadly grenade cluster bomb, which fires a cluster of 7 bombs that does 25 damage per grenade, resulting in a total of 175 damage per hit, which can almost kill an unupgraded player, and can be fired 3 times before overheating, making this one of the highest damaging weapons in the game. And that's the synopsis for the second Seeker Warrior's robot mode. Let's thunder up and crack into vehicle mode. Decepticon Seeker 2, transform! And here we have the Seeker Warrior's alt mode. Again, a slightly modified F-18 Super Hornet, now in the spitting image of G1 Thundercracker. Again, since we have no artwork to compare to, we'll just highlight any deco distinctions. Starting up at the nose, it is in fact black instead of being fully blue, as seen on the cartoon. Then again, if you're taking your reference from the Masterpiece figure, then this is in fact accurate. The cockpit has some additional black striping around the front and back of the cockpit. At the sides of the cockpit, you have the gray sections meant to imitate what is seen on the original G1 cartoon vehicle, with the rest of the core body being blue. The wings wear the iconic red and white Seeker pattern running down the front of the wing, with a white Decepticon insignia in place of the classic purple one, which I personally would have preferred. The vertical stabilizers also don the signature red and white patterns, as seen on the classic G1 toy. And the underbelly has some thick streaks of black running along the bottom sides of the jet, with a smooth set of silver lining the center. And since the rest of the gameplay performance is exactly the same as the previous 2 Seekers, we'll just close off with one final fight. And here we are back at Cairo Pyramids, as it is again the only place I could practically play as this character. And to close it all off, I've brought in the aerial bot. Again, I don't expect this to be a very fair fight, but this is literally the best I can do. So, let's close this thing off with one last fight. Time to make this thunder crack. Okay, bot, time to get knocked out. Ha!
I'm hit. I need backup.
Ah! Oh. That was a little too easy, I think. Let's give that another go. Okay, round 2. Let's move off a bit. Yeah, let's go over here.
Visual on enemy!
Ooh! Good hit from the fallen on that one. Oh, missed. Cluster bomb. Oh, got stunned. Oh. Teamwork. Not really fair. Let's try again. Okay, round 3. Cluster bomb. Oh. Oh, dang. Nailed me. What? Oh, he got me.
That was beautiful.
Dang. Oh, he got him. Okay, round 4.
Hit confirmed! They're taking wounded. Keep at them.
Stop it on crit again. Ready? Huh. Oh, scrap.
Good night.
Okay, so from what I can gather, as unfair as that was, they seem to be pretty evenly matched. You know, Aerialbot got me twice, I got him twice. Again, it's the best I could do. If I could get rid of the other guys, I would, but this is literally the only place I could take him. Because every place else is out of bounds. But, you know, you get good hits with those cluster bombs. I think everyone's a goner with this guy. Well, that's it. That's everyone. Let's close this thing off and wrap it up. And there you have all of the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Decepticon enemies covered, cleared, and completed. Whew, that was a heck of a project. First off, I want to apologize for this taking so darn long. I got caught up with other things, and this project sort of just slipped away from me for a while. So from here on out, I won't release any future AI series from a game unless all the videos of that series are completed. That way, you'll never be waiting as long between videos. At least for as long as you were with this series. With that said though, I am thrilled this monster is finally over and done with. It has now taken place as the longest video I have ever made. I mean, sheesh, 2.5 hours long? Now I know how making a full-on movie feels. So many little edits, clips, and dialogue to carefully stitch together really makes you appreciate what film editors have to go through. With this done, however, my time with the dev build is just about done. There may be a few more short videos I want to make with it, but aside from that, I think I'm pretty much done with the dev build. Not sure just what will become the priority after this. Probably will take some time to focus my attention on the FOC enhancement mod for a while, which for the record has had some incredible progress made. But we'll see how things unfold. Well, that'll do it for all of the Revenge of the Fallen AI. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and share this around wherever you can. It really helped me out. Okay, I'll close off here, and I'll see you in whatever is next. Till then, later.